our community, dear Lord. And thank you for the sunshine you've given us here this afternoon. I ask you to bless us with leadership and good decision making and guidance as we meet here tonight. I ask you to bless our country, your president, all of our elected leaders to do the betterment of the United States and the Commonwealth of Virginia and Dickinson County. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. And at this time, I'll move on to, well, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance and ask Mr. Peters to lead that, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
May I have the floor for
yes,
a brief
absolutely,
explanation? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In order to meet the requirement of Virginia law, I have to put on for the record, for our record, and for the public that's watching, a brief explanation as to tonight's meeting. Virginia law requires that all Board of Supervisors meetings be open to the public and that there is a public forum and opportunity for the public to be heard during an open meeting. So all meetings generally, not generally, but all the law in Virginia requires all meetings be open to the public. As a result of the coronavirus, a lot of things have changed in the last 2 months in terms of how this board operates. And it's an intent of this board to comply with the open meetings law and to make sure the public always has access and has input to this board. The President of the United States has declared a emergency epidemic in the United States. The Governor of Virginia has declared Executive Orders 51 and 53 as emergencies and set out various guidelines for public bodies and the citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And one of those requirements in Executive Order 51 and 53, and also the President's recommendation due to health concerns from the coronavirus, is there will be no more than 10 individual citizens and that there have to be spacing between citizens if we allow 10 people in the meeting tonight. And so the record will show that there's no more than 10 people here tonight in attendance, and that there's a there's a 6 foot spacing between all citizens that are here to protect health and safety of this board and the citizens who attend. In addition, this board has also allowed the public to have access to this meeting, even though there's a 10 limit citizen requirement for the board meeting in attendance. What this board has done is 2 things. Number one, this meeting, and for all the board members, this is being live streamed. It is, did I say that right, Mr. County Administrator? It's been live streamed, and the public can have access to this meeting as we are speaking tonight. The second thing that the County Administrator has done, along with their good, excellent technology assistance, they have upgraded the ability tonight for those who wish to call in the comment section. We'll be able to hear them and we'll be able to speak with them in real time. I believe that will be correct, is it not, Mr. County Administrator?
Yes, sir.
They will be doing that tonight. So we have the ability to have the public call in during public comment and to make any comments that they may wish that are relevant to the agenda. And the comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. If they call in, and I assume Mr. Chairman will provide that telephone number.
Yes, sir.
The second thing that the board has done to encourage public access and comment is that when the board published its agenda, and that's one of the requirements, this board did publish its agenda on the internet, and the internet was available to all citizens who wanted to see that and have access to that agenda. They would have a right to email their comments to the board through the secretary and the clerk, they could email them, and their comments, if they did in fact send us an email, their comments would be made part of tonight's record. But it's my understanding, Ms. Teresa, we had received no emails from anyone, but they had access for at least 5 days after they received the agenda to make any comments that they wished or desired on the agenda and make their comments known. So we had 2 ways to allow the public to have their comments heard here tonight. Had they called in with a email, send an email to her, we would run that message off. It would have been then part of the record, and you would have been allowed to see those and respond to anything that they wished for you to respond to. And so that's 2 things, and that's a little different than last time We're trying to expand access for all the citizens that have access to your meeting. So as a part of the record, we want to indicate that this meeting is open to the public, and we have the ability to have public input tonight through Facebooking and interactive call-in at a particular number. And Mr. Chairman, would you be so kind as to tell them that number? I don't have the number in front of me.
Yes, sir, Mr. Phillips, thank you very much. The number, if anyone desires to express an opinion or give mention in the public comment portion of our meeting, is 276-333-0357. And I'm going to read that one more time, 276-333-0357. And once we get to item 9, I believe I'll read that again, but that's the number if anybody's interested in it.
Okay. So for the record, that is how this meeting is proceeding, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Phillips and David and Jeremy. Thank you for making this as transparent as it can be. And now I'll move to item number 3, approval of the minutes. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes from our workshop meeting March 2nd? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we're going to do that number 4.
Oh, no.
Special call meetings of March 12th and March 16th and March 9th, and then the public hearing March 24th and regular meeting March 24th, 2020. Has everybody had?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Yes, sir. I have a motion. I have a second.
I'll second the motion.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong document.
That's okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the aforementioned meetings. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. We'll move on to item number 4, approval of the agenda. I do have one request, if it's the pleasure of the board to add. It's not a big deal, but I would like to add to number 15D, other business, just an open discussion about internet access in Dickinson County. Obviously, with the school systems being closed for the remainder of the year and who knows what in the fall, I would just like to not take any action or anything, but let's open a discussion up of how we can, as a board, begin, once we sort of get toward normal business, offering some broadband internet access to the county. So I would like to add that, just again, to open the conversation up.
Okay. To formally get all of these changes approved, we'll have to read them all. You have a page that says...
Yes, sir. I forgot about these.
No, that's fine. I'll go ahead and I'll take care of all the housekeeping.
Okay.
Y'all just approve it. You have a page that says agenda addendum. First thing we're going to do is delete item 7. That was on the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. There was a problem with the handbook given to you. We'll clean that up and we'll take that up again at the May meeting so that it's more understandable. Then we have several adds. We need to add item 11C. This will go under resolutions. It's for Rails to Trails, CSX railroad conversion of abandoned corridor to a Rails to Trails. We will have an item 11D. That is the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors correcting incorrect information, and which also includes an exhibit that will be in regard to the elementary school. We will also add item 15D, which will be quit claim deed, the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors to the Dickinson County IDA for the Clintwood High School property. Josh has asked for item 15E, which will be discussion of county internet and broadband access. And I have one additional item that will be item 15F, and that would be consideration of Tarpon voting precinct.
For all, I guess we'll hear a motion to amend the agenda in accordance with the county administrator's recommended additions.
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to amend the agenda with the recommendations from the county administrator previously discussed. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Now we'll move, Mr. Moore again, item 5, county administrator's report.
Yeah, this is your year-to-date financial summary for our current fiscal year, which started on July 1st, 2019 and ends on June 30th of 2020. The general county fund year-to-date revenues through the end of March were $18,958,538, Expenditures are $22,378,065. For the month of March 2020, revenue is $1,507,858. Expenditures were $2,318,185. Local coal and gas road improvement fund, year-to-date revenue is $2,873,347. Expenditures are $3,363,096. For the month of March 2020, revenue was $273,948. Expenditures were $140,692. E911 fund, year-to-date revenue $211,078. Expenditures $439,304. For the month of March, revenue was $22,049, and expenditures were $31,245.
Does anybody have any
I
questions?
have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This right here, if I'm reading this correctly, does this say that in the general county fund, there are $2.5 million?
I'm not sure what your reference. I'm assuming it's the treasurer's report for the end of
treasurer's
March.
report,
I-
$2.5 million?
That's
in the
correct.
general?
That's correct.
Does that mean that that's what we are soon approaching, May and June? Is that the amount that we have for May and June?
That's your fund balance. That's your general fund balance. I'm not sure what the question is.
Well, is that what we have to operate until the end of the fiscal year?
Yes, when
Thus, I heard you say,
But we'll start collecting some taxes.
yes, but that won't be until in the June.
May,
That'll-
right, that's
that'll
right.
bring that up some. I heard you say that we were $1 million. What, this time last year, I know you can't remember this time last year.
no.
But does this come into approximately what it was this time last year?
This is the way, yes, since we've been able to work toward and have a positive general fund balance, yes, this is the way it goes. There will be months where you don't have much in the way of collections, that it will drop into the $1 million, possibly even lower than that, but it typically by the end of June rebounds back to the $5 or $6 million level that we talked about in
By the end of
other
June?
meetings. Because the December collection window and the June collection window are just huge for us, because real estate revenue is about 30% of our total collection. So those two windows are big.
So also on the coal and gas, the treasurer's report, gas, coal severance tax, on this page here, revenue, have you seen, this is year to date, it has $271,000. The gas is $135,000. Total, they're $2,400,000.
That's half of the severance collection. I'm assuming you're looking at the general fund part, or are you looking at the coal road, because they're the same?
No, I'm looking at the coal.
That's 50% of your severance collection for the current fiscal year. Yep. Last time I had checked, we were going to be on pace for a little over $6 million in total severance, which half is what you see there. The other half is in the general fund.
Then I have one more further question that I didn't understand. What is this Dickinson County, that child care center that $70,000 was budgeted? Is this the one over here?
We are contractually obligated to run this facility over in Happy Valley with People Incorporated. It used to have a different tie-in. I believe it used to have a Head Start tie-in. After they moved out there, they ceased their relationship with People Incorporated. We are still contractually obligated to have a daycare center with them, I think, for at least the next 5 years.
And is that because of some agreement with the Serco?
When all this was done back before I even started,
Right.
There was an agreement made that, and it did tie into the Serco thing, but contractually, when the monies were taken on by People Incorporated, the county had to be a joint sponsor for the daycare center. So we are contractually obligated. We share in the cost of like building stuff. Our maintenance guys do perform some work over there, but we also provide $70,000 in financial assistance for the operations of the building.
Which the child care is very underused. They don't have many kids at all.
Well, I can't get a spot. I've tried for a year and a half to get a
Well,
spot.
my sister, her children, all 5 of her have gone to over there and received excellent
I
care.
can't get a
I
spot.
just don't, it just seems to me like down here, where the old post office, they're running over. And when they left this place over here, it went down. I
That's
mean,
Head
kids-
Start over there.
Yeah, it's Head Start over here. Over here, they take every age and after school. I didn't know. I know they're probably not collecting enough money I didn't even know how they were existing, really, but, because there's not many kids there. I'm surprised they turned your child down.
We've tried for 2 years.
Okay, that's
now.
all I had. I was just
Those
reviewing.
good
Thank you
questions.
very much.
Sure.
Okay, do we need to approve the county administrator's report? I guess we do.
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Have a motion to hear second.
I'll second it.
Motion and second to approve county administrator's report. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also. Moving on to item 6, expenditures. Turn the floor back over to Mr. Moore.
You were,
This is the.
yeah, you were presented in your packet a list of checks, and you also have the summary pages in your booklet. We just asked that you approve of the expenditures as presented for the month of March, for the month of April.
I'm gonna approve that one that says voided. No, I'll approve.
Well,
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have to void one every now and then.
Yeah.
Here a second.
I second the motion.
All those in favor of approving the expenditures, please signify by saying aye.
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 Also, we've deleted 7, moved to number 8, Mr. Rakes.
Yes, you have a third-party inspection policy before you.
Yeah.
In the past, we've had Wise County come over and do our inspections and stuff like that, when the official wasn't available. But the state also mandates that we have a written policy. And any day, me and one Wise County guy and one Russell County guy could wake up sick. So it's very important we have a written policy to meet the state requirements, and this follows right along. This actually came from Grayson County. They gave me a copy of theirs, cleaned it up a little bit for budget advice, and got it for you.
Mr. Phillips, anything you need to?
It's just a straightforward option. If your building inspector is not available, a private party such as, let's say you're building a big school, or you're building some big construction project, or you have a major home going up somewhere, or a home, or you have somebody doing some additions, and he's not available, it allows for a third-party inspection. But the thing that the citizens have to be aware of, they would have to pay separately for that. The county would not pay for that. The citizen would pay for the third-party inspection. And that's why the code requires it to be drafted in terms of the policy.
Who does the inspections for the town of Clintwood? Are you doing those for the town?
Yes.
Okay.
I do all these.
So Doug's not doing them anymore at all? Doug Rowe?
Yes.
In a year and a half, 2 years maybe, the town dissolved their.
Right, okay.
I think Ms. Sluss had a question.
Who is your designated person in case you're not available?
He said Russell
Any,
or,
Russell or Buchanan?
no.
well, with this policy, it'd be anyone certified.
Be as needed,
as
so.
a building official or a building inspector within the ring of their inspections.
I know you have all your certifications. Does Buchanan County and what Russell County guy have too?
Wise County's got the most as of right now. Buchanan County's only got the building official. Legally, he cannot come over to do inspections. But architects, engineers, if they're building a new school and I come down sick for 3 months, they'll have the engineer step in, sign off on everything. We have to approve it because you can't have a structural engineer inspecting electrical work or electrical engineer inspecting structural work. We'll sign off on the qualifications of that engineer for the inspections.
I have one other question for you, Chris. I meant to call you. There's 3 or 4 places that have burned, and nobody ever tears them down or gets rid of them. Is there anything we can do about that? Because it's very much of an eyesore.
The county has an ordinance that, as I've told other, board members in the past, we've probably got 200 or 300 of them in the county.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start, everybody's gonna want a house tore down. There's one out there, Korea's I'd like to see tore down. But, I'm sure on the way here, probably every one of you drove by one or two. And basically, you have your attorney send them all the threatening letters, all that. Then once you meet all the legal guidelines, you're able to tear it down and put a judgment against the property.
Why is the owner not responsible for tearing it down?
Well, they may not be able to afford to. And when the county decides to tear it down, since they're using non-private funds, they're using government money, they have to have an asbestos inspection.
It's very
You can do
costly.
that.
So you may take the house that's gonna take $40,000 to tear it down and turn it into a $30,000 demolition.
Yeah, exactly.
This is-
Property that's only valued at $65,000.
And you can never sell it, never do, get your money back.
Well, there's one on my ridges in the charter court, and they don't own the property. And it's
The
just,
judgment would be to put a lien on the property, wouldn't
you
it?
can't,
Yeah, but I
they
mean,
don't
that's
own the
worthless,
property.
really.
I'm
Yeah,
talking about,
I realize that. Getting it's another thing.
well, I know when my house burned, we got rid of it.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So why is it that we can't do some kind of, I know there's probably ordinance, I know there's a ordinance, there's something we can do and give people a certain amount of time to get it. And if they don't, I know you're saying then it's left up to the county to pay to have it done, which it can turn into very expensive. But, you know, I wish there was some other way we could do it because it is just such an eyesore.
Right before I came in the job, the budget, had to remove from my budget any expense toward that. Because we've done it in the past, and you get the judgment, and then you're just stuck with
With
When it, related to this, and if I'm getting far-fetched, tell me, Chris, but when you look at, when we get into that budget, Rhonda, you're gonna see that some of these places, Angie's done some work to get rid of this, but some of these places, they haven't paid taxes on many years. And the problem with that is, as that goes on, they've abandoned it, and then it becomes an eyesore, and it becomes a liability for the county to take on.
Yeah, we don't wanna lean on.
And we don't, so it's important to go after the taxes too.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes, sir, please.
I recall the ordinance because I suspect I was the one that drafted the ordinance that he was referring to when I was here previously. The statute that he's referring to dictates exactly how the county can approach this issue and what it's required to do, how it proceeds, and what's required. It's a civil matter, and it's not a criminal matter. It's a civil matter, and it requires that notices be sent, and certain notices have to be sent and requiring them to clean it up. If they don't clean it up, then the county, by ordinance, has a right to appropriate funds, remove it, but it has to follow the law in terms of abatement and getting either various asbestos analysis done before testing done, for example, before it's torn down. And if there's asbestos, you got an asbestos contract that you have to enter into to remove all the asbestos. And all the old houses in Dickinson County have asbestos in them. As I have to tell you that. It's in the shingles, it's in the flooring, it's in the roofing, it's in the tile, it's in various fireplaces and all kinds of places. And so it would require that. The county would have to front all that money, and as by statute. And so follow statute, it says the county has to front that money, and then you have to go to court, get a lien against it, and it becomes a lien against the property. But as the county and county inspector said, and as Mr. Chairman said, once you got a lien, it's basically, in most cases, worthless because you can't sell the property.
It's not worth it.
It's a shame that
It
we
is a
have to
shame.
put up with that.
Well, there's a piece of property in my district that the man and woman moved out of that house into another house. And then he passed away. Then the son, they only had one child. The son passed away. Then the mother passed away, and the son left a grandchild. probably 6, 7 years old, 8 years old now or something, and there's nobody else in that family to do anything that, if you did go in there and do anything with that property, who in that family would even take care of that bill? You know, because there's no family member, immediate family members left to do anything with the house. So
If
here's
I
this
might-
house falling down.
I suggest something, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
There might be an opportunity to work with the folks at People Incorporated to get a federal grant to come in and for demolition of those.
Just like the Trimble.
Yes.
If we get a grant, so I just sort of clairvoyant.
Maybe
It just hit me about a grant. Why can't we get some grants to?
I actually asked the Department of Housing and Community Development that same question, and they said it has to be tied to something else. So, like Trammell would say, we're gonna be able to tear down certain houses, you have to have something else tying to it. There's various different things, grants that they have, if that grant goes by something that to be tore down, then you can very easily work it into the grant.
There's a possibility that you could do another housing grant to rehab certain houses in Dickinson County with a option as part of that to do some demolition. Now in Trammell, they're scheduled, the contract, I think there's 12 or 15 houses scheduled to be demolished and removed in Trammell as a part of that rehab. So it's possible that the county could explore that to do a rehab program in general with a certain community and do the same thing in those communities to remove those dilapidated homes.
Maybe that's something the IDA needs to look into.
I think that's something that you want to discuss it with
Chris.
Mr. Rakes and
Mr. Moore.
Well, just to clarify that we have done this, kind of Chris and I since he was hired, we have talked about this. The first two that we have had success with will be Trammell, and we also have in the pipeline a project in Clinchco. Now, Clinchco does not have funding on it yet. We were funded for a planning grant, but not for an actual revitalization grant. But it was going to follow some of the same theme, which is to try to get these blighted homes who nobody is ever going to tear down, live in, do anything with the property, to try to get those done. Because Trammell actually has potential for another phase or two, right?
Yes, yes.
So the problem is, and the one that I think that all of us see more of the cases than not, are these single dwelling structures, which are just in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I don't
Caught
think they're
fire
gonna,
or
I don't
abandoned.
think they're gonna touch those, cause you're
We
talking
haven't
about-
found a program, that not saying that we won't be able to find one, but we have not been able to find a program to date that helps with that, because as Chris said, you really have to put it together in a revitalization package
a community package.
and then get it score well enough to sell. So
But
Trammell's
Trammell's
a huge success story. Once we're able to get that done, that will be a great first phase project, but we will be eligible for future phases at Trammell. But going back to your question, we'll continue to see and to talk. You know, when you go to Richmond, that's one of those great talking points. How are you going to help us with all these blighted homes that have either owners that don't care or no owner? And no one's ever going to do anything with that property, because as Chris points out, if the county takes it over, we'll spend 4 to 5 times what some of these are even worth. And then there's no guarantee that
As
we'll
an
resell it.
example, Rhonda, with the project in Trammell, in the early part of that, when he came to see us, he could not get a hold of some of those owners. But the minute that went in the paper that there was grant money available, these guys started ringing that phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Checks.
Oh, and there's some now in Trammell that didn't want to be a part of it, that is trying to get in, ain't they? Yeah.
When the 202 program comes through,
Hey, son.
the county, it'll cover a lot of, Russell Fork River, McClure River area on flood prevention. And part of that program will be removing homes that's in the floodplain and abandoned, along with buyouts and, elevation of, existing homes.
But it's important to point out with that program, those properties are already identified.
Right.
They had to be previously identified as part of the, I think it was the 2006 study
I
that was
think many of
done.
them are gone now.
They are, and there will be, and we talked to the Corps, there will be some changes to that, so it's possible. We haven't worked through that yet, but
I think the rule was we have to show that they were flooded.
It has to demonstrate that it has been flooded, yes.
In the living space.
But those properties have already been identified as part of the 2006 program done by the Corps of Engineers out of Huntington.
So in other words, we're just gonna have to look at them.
Well, I mean, you come off my ridge, there's a burn trailer there, quite ready to fall in, but it's on charter court. They don't own the land. I mean, it's very much an eyesore.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Thank you, Chris. I know Chris is an asbestos inspector himself. We're very blessed to have the building inspector that we have.
Any other questions or discussion on the third-party inspection policy?
I make a motion that we go ahead and pass this resolution.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of passing the third-party inspection policy as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Move on to item number 9, public comment. And again, I guess I'll read that number off. Anybody watching the live stream of this meeting may call 276-333-0357. 276-333-0357. So at this moment, I guess I'll ask and see if we have any calls.
Someone call.
Okay. But if anybody's here in the audience that would like to speak, now's your opportunity.
Well, I'd like to talk about cleaning places up, looks bad. I had a renter put a tank on my property. 5 years it sat there. There's 27 poplar trees growing up my yard. She brought his personal price and brought my yard. And one day I got his old tanker. Virginia law says if it's been abandoned for 48 hours, it's abandoned property. But anyway, that tanker was there for 5 years. And I took it to the house and I was going to sell it. 3 days after and I contacted the owner, couldn't find him. When I moved it, he found me. Also, the Dixon County Sheriff's Department found me. I was charged with felony, grand theft auto. I was hauled off to jail. Owed me money. My property up there, I went up there last week and I started cleaning it up. And I bagged the trash up and it's still sitting there. The trash people weren't going to pick it up. But I was issued a summons when I was hooked up before my house burned for having a bag of trash on my porch. So, it's just, what do you do? It was my own property that I got put to jail over and had to stand in front of the judge and explain. Then I had an insult to injury that went to Russell County and tried to charge me again.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond?
Yes, sir.
Sir, that would be a private matter that you would have to seek legal counsel and to advise you on those matters. The board could not give you legal
Well, no, I'm just telling you that I tried to clean a piece of property up what happened to me. That was my personal experience of trying to clean a piece of property up that belonged to me. I understand about the private, I don't understand about the law, how it works. But could you all help the police stop my house and pick the trash up? I mean, I ain't gonna pay to take the trash over to the transfer station, and it's somebody else's.
Do you have a spot where you leave your household trash? I mean, do they pick
Ain't
it?
no house there anymore.
But I mean,
It's beside the road, all they do is stop and pick it up.
Did it bagged?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd call, what's the number, truck shop?
1980.
835-1980, Larry, and tell them where it's at and what the deal is, and I'm sure Darrell or Travis will help you, I would think.
I mean, it just bothered me that you're talking about cleaning places up, and I tried to clean a place up, and I got hauled to jail off for it.
Well, like Mr. Phillips said, though, that's a private civil matter and a landlord-tenant issue, and I've seen a lot of them. So, do you have anything else? Is 3 minutes about up? Or?
No, that's all.
Okay. I'll go defer to the phone call first. So I guess we'll put that person on the line. Okay.
Sir. Hello.
We're on delay, must be. So we'll ask you to turn your internet down just a little bit. We've got a delay. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay. Just please say your name and your address, and you have the floor to speak.
okay, my name is Kieran Vanover, I live at 4809.
Did we get his number?
Maybe we'll ask Mr. Vanover to call.
I'm calling back.
Hello?
Mr. Vanover, I think we lost you there. I apologize, but we're ready for your comments whenever you are. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I had, basically I was asking about two different projects. I was trying to find out something about the Cow Path project down here, the road, about it being shut down so long. I occasionally go and travel that way and was trying to find out what the status was or update on it was.
Yes, sir. I've been in constant contact with Delegate Wampler and the VDOT office, and then Mr. Moore. It's been a nightmare, Kieran, but as of now, and I had someone from the sheriff's office tell me that work is really going well this week. May 1st is the opening date that I've been given by two separate VDOT officials that are kind of high up. I have raised Cain with every single person that'll listen to me with VDOT trying to get this road open May 1st. I don't know what the weather looks like tomorrow or Thursday, but as of now, it's this Fridays when it's supposed to open.
Okay. And I was also wondering about the Crane's Nest Trail, what the update on that was. The last I heard, I think you all had gotten your paperwork done and everything, and was wondering if they were going to start that anytime soon.
I would have to defer to somebody else.
We're actually going to award the contract this evening, which hopefully, once we get all the particulars as far as paperwork on that end, because they have to provide insurance coverage and that type of stuff. Once we get all of that done, we are hopeful that we could actually go under construction within the next month or so.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience that would like the floor to speak?
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
My name is Don Hill, I'm from Clinchco.
Yes, sir.
I've got these handouts for each board member, and I'm gonna.
You can see it or stand wherever you're comfortable, sir.
I just stand.
Yes, sir.
What this is you need to, yeah, it's a study that I've been working on for a number of years, and it's culminated in this document. It has to do with the proposed elementary school in Dickinson County, and it's a student population study. Very short, concise, and to the point. And what I would like to do is just pass this out to you, give you the copy. You take it home or do whatever you want to do with it. And I'll be back here the next meeting. If you have questions, just put them on a piece of paper and you can, interrogate me any way you want to. But it's self-explanatory, really. Very simple.
What's your phone number, Mr. Hill?
276-393-4027.
Thank you. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
You can go ahead.
Hey, Don,
Yes, sir.
have you presented this to the school board?
Yes.
Because,
That's a good point. I did it the last one.
and I knew you had previously. I haven't forgotten you, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because the way this is heading,
Well,
they're the main ones that you're gonna have to talk to on this.
I talked to him, and I've done all I can do.
No, I understand.
I'll just say this, and I'll sit down. It would be a travesty to lose this $25 million to the children in this county. I mean, a real travesty. And there's a good possibility that it could happen. Especially if we have another breakout.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have another caller? Okay. Anybody else in the audience? Mr. Nichols.
Usually when they call me Mr., I owe money. First of all, I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak tonight. The other thing, I wish they had had this 6-foot thing back in the school board meetings a long time ago. We don't have 10 people in here hollering and screaming. But I want to say good evening to each and every one of you. I want to say a special thank you to Peggy for your hard work with our kids and our schools and everything in the Riverton District and our elderly. Thank you so much for what you do. Shelby, your support has been unparalleled, what you've done in the old Riverton High School and Hilton Elementary. I appreciate that. Those cold nights I saw you sitting in the stands up there. Rhonda, thank you for your support for our children and our elderly and the things that you guys do with your mission work. Josh, your undying support for our children, our elderly, and Dickinson County concern, I think, would be hard to match anywhere. And Ron, thank you so much for your military service. I appreciate it every time I see that they have the honor guard. That makes me feel proud that I know people such as you. If it's all right, I want to just tell you just a real quick little story. A little over 25 years ago, I had the opportunity to interview an individual in a hotel room in Richmond, Virginia, and I just wanted to find out what that person had in mind as far as what's going to happen in Dickinson County and our region down the road 50 years from now. And I'd like to let you know that we had a great interview, and the guy was very in tune to what we were going to try to do here 30 years, 50 years down the road. And one of the things that we talked about better education, learning atmosphere for all of our children, also better schools, more to offer our children, also to have a higher ed center, which we're sitting in here today, maybe a pharmacy school in Dickinson County or our region, maybe a law school in our Dickinson County or our region, water for every household in our area. Thank you, Ron Phillips, for what you've done. To start nursing classes in our career centers and high schools so our kids would be a step ahead of some of the other kids in our surrounding area, and do a better nursing program for Southwest Virginia Community College and also Mountain Empire Community College. I wanted to improve the Breaks Interstate Park, such as the convention center and all that over there, everything from the water slides to the everything that you see that's happened over in the last 20, 25 years. Whitewater rafting, also build new cabins over there to make it more accessible for more people to come in and spend time in the Breaks Park, and also work on roads to the Breaks Park. We also talked about that night, a power plant. Believe it or not, 25 plus years ago, we talked about a power plant, possibly, and we talked everything from Tom's Creek. We didn't mention where it's at now, but we talked about Dickinson County, we talked about Buchanan County, and this gentleman said he'd like to bring jobs to our area, and one of the things he was going to work on was, he said the prison system needed prisons. So he got on board, and we ended up with Keene Mountain, Red Onion. We also got Wallen Bridge, and of course, he also talked about call centers. And the person that we talked to that night and discussed all this is that guy sitting right there. And he said the secret to this whole thing would be communications within our county. He was at the low end. There was more, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Phillips, there was more Republicans than there were Democrats at that time. And we had the Kilgores and we had some other people around us. But because of this gentleman over here, we've obtained some of those things. I've been told that the attorneys for both of our boards, school board and our board here with the Board of Supervisors, are not letting you folks talk to each other. No communication, nothing gets done. It's a shame, shame, shame that we've come to this. And the tune of about $85,000 a month. Both boards are being held hostage. I don't know who by, why, or where, or when it's going to stop. But once again, it's about $85,000 a month. I'd like to read you one quick thing. January 2016, the Corps of Engineers notified us that we all have the money that was needed to complete Ridgeview and to build a new elementary school. Where it's built, I don't care, we got to have an elementary school. This date is significant because we had this money available for 4 years and 4 months, and we've done nothing because of this gridlock. This is a significant date for us to not be forgotten. And the reason I say this, when I started my second term on the school board, I made the comment. Here's what the two most important things we're going to talk about here tonight. Can we balance the budget? And we're going to build a new school. And one of the school board members says, we'll have a new school in 3 years. I said, at the end of 4 years, we'll be sitting here talking about the same thing. It's now 6 years. We're still talking about the same thing. I just want to say this. We need less lawyers running our county and more leaders. And I could not ask for a better bunch of leaders right here. I don't know what we're paying these other people to decide the future of our children, but it's costing us immensely. I would have to say this has got to be one of the best boards that's ever walked in Dickinson County. I know her heart, I know her heart, I know his heart, I know his heart, and I know her heart. If I had $1 million, I'd send it to the bank, please. But if we're going to look around here, if we don't do something quick, and we're gonna be putting kids back into trailers. And we don't need that. We've come such a long way. We don't need to go back. It is unbelievable how many people I run into that talk about what Dickinson County has going on. You know, here's the top, and we're right here. We're almost right here. We just need to get it all together. And once again, I know his profession is an attorney. He helped my wife out of a speeding ticket. I appreciate that. I've known this guy when he first started taking his law classes. I know all of you folks, but we cannot afford $85,000 a month. We lost over $1 million of that money while I was on the school board for the last 4 years. And I want to say this. It wasn't the supervisors all their fault. It wasn't the school board all their fault. It was everybody's fault. Because we didn't look within, we looked out, and people are dangling us like puppets. Get these people off of our wallets so we can go to school for our kids. I don't care where you build it, but it's got to be built. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the effort. And I appreciate you, by the way, my wife said to tell you, thank you for the tree removal. Thank David for getting that taken care of. I didn't want to come here in January, February, March. But the honeymoon's over, and I think you guys are doing positive things. I really do. And I go to bat with any one of you in any situation. I go to bat with you because I trust you. And the county's trusting you. Our kids are trusting you. We're going to look around tomorrow, and six-year-olds are going to be 14-year-olds. And then the next day, they're gone. Thank you so much. I hope I haven't bored you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, please.
Mr. Nichols, if you will stay the meeting tonight, I think you're going to hear some things that might hopefully help resolve this matter dealing with the school. So stay with us tonight, can you?
Yes, and I'd like to give you, I guess you, I'd like to give Mr. or David this, so if you'll make copies of this for each one of the board members, I'd appreciate it. It's been scribbled on a little bit, and I just think it's something you might want to look at.
The board has taken actions in the last 30 days and tonight to move this project ahead. And so if you'd stay, I think there will be a lot of interesting information provided to you tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate your time, guys. I really do.
Thank you
so much.
And nobody shares, Shanghai, your frustration any more than myself, and I'm not speaking for everybody, and I wouldn't, but I believe that I am safely saying nobody shares your frustration more than these 5 people sitting in this seat, okay? And the 2 people we have working for us, so we all echo that frustration. So, anybody else here for public comment? Any other calls? All right, I guess.
We'll make a motion, we close public comment.
Thank you, Ron. Here, second.
Second.
All those in favor of moving on to item 10 and closing public comment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Move on to roads. Is there anyone here with any road concerns?
Can we make a comment about roads as the public?
Yes.
Shanghai Nichols, the Urban District, I'd just like to say how much I appreciate the people taking care of the roads at Ridgeview High School. Down there, that is really kind of neat how people have, that's well-used road, there's no doubt about it. And I appreciate any time there's been a small crack in the pavement, it has been fixed, and I thank you for that.
Again, we touched on it with Mr. Vanover's call in, but CalPath, we all had a kind of a rocky beginning, and then CalPath hit early February, and it's sort of just been like the, I don't know what's the proper term, David, like Freddy Krueger to me or something, but I hope, it's my sincere prayer and hope that thing will be open May 1st. I've called everybody I know to call. I've fussed at everybody I know to fuss at. And from everything, all indications are that that's going to be open May 1st. And I really know that that's inconvenienced a lot of people in our county, and particularly in my district. And I really want that thing open badly, and I've done everything I know to do. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I really I don't know what else I could do to try to get it open, but this Friday, hopefully it'll be open.
I do have something.
Yes, sir.
On roads, and this is kind of generalization. Peggy showed me something earlier of Priest Fork. I had a call from this road in Naugatuck that's washed out. The people are stranded now. is there anything we need to do? Cause that one meeting I think his last meeting I was able to attend, we had the first road ever that I've seen in the whole time I've been in this that was taken in by the state. Some of these roads are gonna be continuous problems. And I don't know, we're just throwing money away as Band-Aids to fix them. You know, their temp fixes that are gonna come back and haunt us the next rainstorm. And I know we got something to review later tonight, but.
My best response to that would be, we had to have an emergency coal road meeting like this past week to take care of a funding problem. And during that time, we discussed we have to have a new coal road member appointed at the end of June because Mr. Bailey's term ends, so there will be a new member. And we discussed with VDOT at that meeting that we thought it would be important for that new coal road group and all of you to meet, because this is the kind of stuff that needs to be vetted out at that level.
I think it does too, and I think and that's what I want, because I think we need to.
Well, we all know about the 6-year plans. We know about the 6-year plans. We know about the annual plans. We know about the roads that they do. But the truth of the matter is, you all are the ones that take most of the heat for the road concerns. And some of these, over time, people move to different areas. Things develop. Things, even though we don't have the level of additions that a lot of other localities do, I think we need to be able to change a little bit better with the times as far as the roads go, because sometimes these little subdivisions pop up, people move into them, and to be honest, unless it's a VDOT maintained part of their system, it's very difficult to get anything done. And I think one of the concerns they need to hear from all of you, as well as probably Mr. Phillips and myself, is we would like to have a much better, closer relationship on how we can make those things happen.
Yeah, and I'll share with you, I sit on another board committee. Because I live at that end of the county, I get the verbiage, well, they do it over in Buchanan.
Right.
Well, the thing that happened in Buchanan is they created a county road program. And I heard the supervisor talk about, he says, I'm in the middle of trying to end that right now, because they realize in the near future, as time goes by, they're not gonna be able to fund all that. So
we don't have the funding to
even
kickstart the program. But what I will say is the meeting that I just discussed, we did clarify we would like to have that done in July or August with you guys.
Yeah.
And so between now and then, it'd be a good idea to come up with as many ideas like that we need to talk, because there are a lot of talking points to go over with VDOT, and I think it seems a lot better if it comes from the 5 of you in a meeting like that, where we will be with the VDOT leaders and we can talk about those kind of problems.
And I will say it was a very positive meeting. The VDOT representatives we met with were incredibly receptive, so there is hope, I think. But I agree with you, Ron.
First, we just got to get CalPath done. So.
Yeah, CalPath.
Please, gotta get CalPath done. All right, anybody else?
For the Irvington district, I have people that call me at home, and there is ditch line issues on Phillips Hollow, particularly in the area of house number 873. Middle of the world, they have worked on that road. It started falling in. They have went up and worked on it, and I have pictures that I have went over and taken at different times, and I've not been back since this person called, but said that the road is worse now. Counts Ridge, Ailey Road, Teresa Kalo is the one who mainly calls me on these, but not Phillips Holler. She didn't call me on that one. The resident that lives at 873 called me. But another person on Ailey Road called about cleaning out the ditch lines, and even up where I live on Dyers Chapel Road, and I've noticed a lot, and I don't know what happened that VDOT has ever quit cleaning ditch lines, but there's so much debris and so much leaves built up in it that when we get all these hard rains, next thing you know, it's running across the road, and then this edge of the road gets washed out. Then you start having road breakage. So, I like to see something done that they'll get back in here and get some of these ditch lines cleaned.
Have those been turned in?
Peggy, do you not call VDOT when you get a complaint at home?
Yeah, I call them, but I also, make mention here so that the whole board knows that there've been issues in the county, yes.
Certain things will go through the Fremont
Yeah.
yard. Most of the time, if it's a road, you have to work through the residency to do that. We try to keep a collective list, but I mean, it's just, there's so
I've not
many
called you
of
and
them.
told the list, but now I've talked to VDOT, but now I've not called Wise or anything.
Who do you tell? Harmon?
I've got Mr. Kilgore's cell phone number.
Harmon or Jackie Christian are typically the two best
I've
people.
found out the best way is just call your, local number and it takes you to Salem, and then they issue the orders back to the correct, authorities, back to
Well,
Fremont
if I
for
call
us.
Fremont VDOT, I always talk to Roger, I believe it is, because he is the
Roger
Irvington.
covers your
Yes,
area.
he covers my area, and
Yeah.
that's who they always
Right.
tell me to talk to.
Right. And
Yeah.
for ditches and
You're
things
right,
like that,
great.
that's the exact way to get that handled. But typically roads have to go to the residency level.
Okay, all right.
Hey, we can stop here on that middle of the world. One problem with that ditch line is back in 2004, the state filled them ditch lines up with big rock. They were that big. You go 1 mile, it stops the drain pipes up, and it comes down to this piece of property I've been complaining about, and then stops the drain pipes up. And now in front of my house, the road is washing off. Besides, it's up on the
Oh, okay.
the water runs down the road instead of ditch line.
Yeah.
And, they took out, there was 2 drain pipes at my house that carried the water. There's 3 places it intersects, that water runs out. And to satisfy one person, they cut the drain pipe out, put a little bitty one in it, so the water would wash over it so she could sue me. And it's continuously getting worse. And I'm getting ready to move back up there, and every 2 or 3 years, I have to have my cemetery road fixed because the water, all them rocks and debris washes right down to my house and stops the drain pipes there.
All
Well,
right,
they clean the drain pipes out, ditch lines out, and clean them drain pipes out, they're gonna continue to have that problem.
I think so.
And and I'm not saying nothing bad about nobody, I'm just gonna speak the truth. When Mr. Moore was on the board of supervisors, he told me not to worry about what went above my house, just worry about getting my house. And that kind of hurts me just a little bit. But it affects me, it's affecting me, it ain't affecting, well, it's affecting the other people too, but it affects me more because it comes down on my property. Then I'll probably have to pay to have it cleaned up one day.
all right. Any other road concerns from anybody?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
At the end of Technology Drive, when you're coming out on 83, over to the left behind the big sign, there's all those weeds that grow up every year, and it's hard to pull out onto the road because of those weeds. I know Mr. Perry had the state to cut those weeds a couple of different times, but I was just wondering if they could be sprayed with like weed killer or something, so they don't keep growing up, because it blocks the view coming up. And I know the speed limit is supposed to drop people coming up there, but normally it doesn't. I mean, people fly through there. Sometimes it's really scary pulling out on that road. So I was just wondering if maybe, weed killer or something could be sprayed on those.
Is that private property?
I'm assuming it's state property, I'm not sure. It's behind the big sign.
Behind the big sign?
Yeah, it's those, I don't know what kind of weeds they are, do you want to know, Chris? But they got cut a couple times last year, but they grow so quick.
Who cut them?
State did, I
The
think.
state did?
Yeah.
Well, perhaps we can get them cut them again. I'll ask them.
It's really dangerous if you're riding the motorcycle.
It's very dangerous, yes.
Just like they throw grass out in the road in the engine. I've never understood why people throw grass out in the road.
All right, we'll move on to, is there anyone else? One last call.
I'd like to speak for Kennedy District.
Sure, yeah.
I had a complaint that no one was here in Aspen Roads in Kennedy. I believe it was last month, I'm not sure. But I call in roads almost daily, and I call them in to 835-8626, 8628. That's one difference in my phone number, and it takes you to Salem. They give you a number, and you can go online and you can check to see when that's done. I do all my roads that way. If I can't get anything done that way, then I contact Harmon Kilgore and relay it on to him. I have talked directly to the law guy down at Fremont. He helps me quite a bit. But I don't bother him if I can take care of it through Salem.
Has that been successful?
Yes, it is. Very successful.
8628.
Oh, hold on just a second. 8628.
Okay, because the VDOT number I call to get straight in down there is 1171.
Yeah, that goes to the office there at Fremont.
Yeah.
But they do, there's times where they'll refer you to Salem too.
Okay. I'll make a note of that and I'll call Salem.
Anybody else? Move on to item 11 on the agenda, and we'll begin with 11A, and I would imagine Mr. Phillips want to speak to us about that.
Mr. Chairman, if we can put 11A proposed new elementary school resolution together with the new agenda item. There's a second resolution on there as well, and it's on the supplemental agenda. It is
11D.
It's 11D, would that be correct? 11D, if we can go into executive session and discuss potentially the litigation, and then after we come out of litigation, these two resolutions would probably be in order for us to discuss in more detail.
Okay.
But if I might have the floor for about 3 or 4 minutes to speak.
Please, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sure a lot of the public has been wondering over the last couple of months what this board has been doing to try to move this new public school forward, the new elementary school. This board has been very quiet. It's been doing its work. That's what has been going on for the last couple of months. Quietly, your council here has also been working with the board members to try to move the school forward. This board speaks through collectively. This board speaks collectively. That's the only way that you can speak as a board of supervisors. You speak through your resolutions and you speak through your budget amendments. That's the two ways that you govern. So over the last 3 months, in particular the last 2 months, there has been substantial movement by this board to move the new school project forward. Move the new elementary school forward. Now what I'm going to do is just very quickly for the public at this point, then we'll come back later when we get back from our executive session and talk about the resolution. We can discuss it further, but I wanted to mention this for the public that's listening, and also on behalf of my friend who is here tonight, who was so kind and outlining basically what this issue is all about. It's about the county controlling its destiny. That's the issue. How do we control our destiny? And I think this board has tried to communicate. It's tried in good faith to move this project forward. And there's 5 things I want to share with you real quickly that this board has done, and there's some more that we can discuss after we come out of executive session and talk about the resolution. But number 1, this board has made it very clear that the law in Virginia allows the school board, gives the school board the authority to determine the location of the new school. We have communicated that to the school board. That is the official position of this board, that the law allows the school board to determine location of the new school. This board in no fashion, no way has tried in any way influenced that decision in the last 2 months. They have basically communicated to the school board, this is your decision. We would like for you to make a decision. Please pick the school site. We've asked them to do that. That's the first item. Item number 2. They came to us over 30 days ago, but you've not heard the school board basically say anything about it. For over 30 days ago, less than 30 days ago, this board tentatively, and they're going to act on it tonight, they have agreed to budget and to actually appropriate $250,000 to the school board to allow them to do their engineering and design. That's the second thing that we've done, this board has done. When I say we, I'm talking collectively, that's this board. So tonight, there's a resolution that they will tentatively, I assume they will approve, that will budget and will actually give to the board, the school board, $250,000 for the engineering and design. Item number 3, $24.4 million has been provided by the Corps of Engineers for the construction of this new school. And there's some thought, and some people are alleging that this board wants to micromanage the spending of the $24.4 million. That is not correct. This board has communicated to the school board that once this $24.4 million is appropriated to them, they have the right to go forward and use this $24.4 million without any strings attached, in the sense, in a sense that they have the right to utilize it. We're not going to control it. We're not going to dictate to them how they use the $24.4 million. So that's a major movement by this board. They are saying there's $24.4 million. This board will appropriate this money to the school board in this next annual budget. The law requires us to do that. And it's my understanding that this board will appropriate in this next annual budget $24.4 million of the core money for the construction of the school. Now, this is a major point that we need to make sure the public is aware of. This board, in the last 30 days, has offered to the school board to find and to appropriate up to $3 million in interim financing to build a school. I'll say it again. This board has offered to the school board, and I don't know who knows it on the school board, but I know it has been communicated through channels, that this board has offered $3 million in interim financing so that the Dickinson County School Board can draw down the $24.4 million in core money. That is significant. This board is willing to go out and to get the interim financing and provide the interim financing to allow this school to be built and to move forward. In addition, number 5, there is some disagreement between the two boards on the issue of what is called the QSCAD money. This board needs approximately $6.9 million of that money to pay the debt and the interest back. And that has been negotiated to some extent. But what is left is some balance in the QSCAD money. What this board has offered to do and is willing to do is the balance that remains in the QSCAD would probably be a little less than $1 million. This board has said to the school board, to their entities, this money we allow to be put on the school. We're not trying to hold it up. When I say we, this board of supervisors are not trying to hold this money up. But this school board wants it, this board of supervisors would like to make sure it's done appropriately. And appropriately, as is defined here, is that we want them to hold this nearly $1 million in reserve, let them build that school, and if they need this additional $1 million to complete that school, this money will be available without any strings attached. If it's not needed to build this new school, then that $1 million will go, or approximately $1 million will go to the school board, and they can use it on basic capital projects that they need. That's what this board has offered in the last 30 days. So this board wants, and is going on record tonight, as what it has done, what it is willing to do, what steps it will take, and this board is, at this point in time, doesn't understand why there can't be an agreement to go ahead and move forward with the school system with these monies in place. This board is willing to do that. And they're going to take steps tonight through 2 resolutions to codify, in other words, to let their expressions and their sentiments as a board be known about these issues. Now, there's one thing that was raised in the newspaper last week that wasn't really clear. And I don't know where if the paper didn't pick it up or whatever, but there is one issue that was raised that is not in contention in the lawsuit. The school board and their attorneys raised the issue of $600,000 that was out there dealing with core credits toward the 202 project in Hayside. It made it appear that this board has $600,000 of their money. That's not correct. We don't have $600,000. The Corps of Engineers has $600,000. It's a credit toward the 202 project in Hayside, Virginia. That money, they talk about a 5% match. It may not be available. They may change the rules and may not require a 5% match in Hayside of the 202 project. But if that happens, it will take somewhere between 5 and 10 years probably to complete the core project. And when that's done in 5 to 10 years, that money may come back to Dickinson County. We don't control it. We have no control over $600,000. It made it appear that we did. We don't. We don't control it. The Corps controls it, and that money could be back to the county possibly, I say possibly, in 5 to 10 years. So we want to make sure the record is complete, that it's accurate, and that the public has all the information that this board has done. They've been too silent too long, this board has, because they wanted to try to quietly do what was right and to move quietly toward resolving these issues and quietly toward building the school. But obviously some things have got out of hand, and they want to correct the record of what they've done in the last 2 months to move this school project ahead. So if the school system has an additional $250,000 that we want to budget tonight, if they had, we'll have $24.5 million available to them. If they have $3 million in financing, why can't they build a school? That's what I want to know.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
Why can't they build a school? And I'm passionate about this. And I'm speaking personally because I love Dickinson County. I love what we do in this county and take care of each other. This board and this board of supervisors made major progress, and they have not been given credit for what they have done in the last 30 to 60 days to move this project ahead. Now, I want to know why the school board hasn't acknowledged the things that this board has done in the last 30 days to move this project ahead. I'm willing to hear from them. I want to hear from them. Why haven't they acknowledged all of these things that this board has done in the last 30 days? If you listened to YouTube last week, it sounded like this board was just asleep, that they're not doing anything, that they've not done anything to make this project move forward. Well, I ask the public, what concessions have they made? What have they made? What have they done to make it move forward?
Zero.
Absolutely zero, in my notion. And I'm saying this as a taxpayer of Dickinson County. I have as much stake in this as anybody. And that's my opinion. So the real issue here is I want to know, as a citizen of Dickinson County and as your attorney for this board, why they can't move forward with building the school with those things I talked about tonight. I want to know why they can't. They say they can't move forward. That is not correct. They can move forward to build this school. So it's time for all of us to get real about it. It's all for us to discuss it and put some of these things behind us. I know there's a lot of history before I got here as your attorney. I don't worry about all that history. I don't worry about all those issues. I want, as your attorney, to help you build this school, and this board is in every effort that they are undertaking is to make that happen.
I just have a question, Mr. Phil.
Yes.
You referenced the newspaper talked about the $600,000. Did they say who that was from?
It didn't talk about it. That was his point.
Yes, they didn't explain it to anybody.
Yeah, there was no
So,
explanation.
but it did mention it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go on record. I've never talked to a newspaper guy about no $600,000.
I didn't until Mr.
What about
Phillips
you,
told me
Rhonda
that.
Shelby?
No, I'm not.
I didn't know it even existed.
Yeah, I
have
just wanna
never
make
talked
you,
to a newspaper about it, no, but I did know that they were set aside for the ASAP project.
I didn't even know that.
So there was, again, to reiterate, that made it appear that we have $600,000 of their money to build a new school, and we don't. That money doesn't exist for us.
And it just comes up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it does. So
I guess the point of why I said that is because I doubt the newspaper guy pulled that out of the air, so you guys figure out what you want from that.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me to have a few minutes of your time. I think it was appropriate to allow me for you and your constituents to set the record straight.
Yes, sir, and we appreciate it. Myself, and I know I speak
I
for the board.
appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Mr. Phil.
So, Mr. Phillips, your suggestion is to pass then 11A till after we come out, or do we want to make?
We're going to go into executive session, come out and consider those.
11A and 11D.
11, 8, 11, and I may have missed that at the beginning there, and I apologize, so we'll pass that, so.
We will vote both of those after.
Okay. So we'll go on then to 11, B, I believe, and I guess Ms. Rakes is here. I don't know if you want to speak to this, or.
I just want to say a little bit before Bud explains exactly what it is. Of course, we have talked about this COVID-19 and the impact that it's had on our county and what we were going to do for the taxpayers to help them out. We first discussed maybe extending the deadline, but we had to get our tickets out. And I did want to change, and I spoke to Mr. Moore also, I did want to change the due date from June the 5th because a lot of the money comes from mortgage companies. And a lot of the taxes come from coal companies. If we extend the deadline, then that's money that we're not going to have for the July 1 budget year. So I talked to Mr. Phillips, and he came up with a plan that we can help the taxpayers out that are actually impacted by this COVID-19. Not all the residents are. I think he said like 80% of Dixon County was people that draw checks.
About 50%.
I'm sorry, 50%. And then we got the mortgage companies and the gas companies. So there's not going to be a lot of people impacted, but I'm going to let Mr. Phillips tell you what he has come up with as far as the resolution.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I speak?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The resolution in front of you is designed to target individuals or businesses or companies who have been impacted by the coronavirus. It's done on an individual tax basis. If an individual comes forward and says, the coronavirus, I've closed my business down, I've owed these taxes, how can you help me? This resolution, which is authorized and allowed by statute, allows the treasurer to, on an individual basis, do a determination if that taxpayer has been affected adversely, financially, by the coronavirus epidemic. If they have, the treasurer is authorized to give a 90-day extension on the payment of taxes, interest, and penalty. It's an extension. It is not a waiver. It's not a forgiveness of any taxes or penalty interest. It allows the treasurer to work with the individuals to allow them a 90 days extension with the opportunity to maybe to go to another 90 days if it expires and you wish to do that. And so it defines basically what good cause. The taxpayer has to state for good cause why they believe they would qualify for an extension. It allows the treasurer to develop a questionnaire, and she has access to the factual information, their finances, to make that determination. And that's the intent, to try to target the opportunity to help citizens to give them an extension so they can up to 90 days with potential going up to 180 days to allow them to pay their taxes. Those citizens who have not been impacted by the coronavirus, then they would be expected to pay their taxes on time as required by law.
Mr. Phillips, I've got a couple of comments or concerns I have with the resolution. It mainly deals with, on page 2, it would be the third, I guess, full paragraph, the now therefore be it resolved. I guess what I see, and I don't really understand why we would, we all know that beauticians, hairdressers, for instance, have been mandatorily shut down. I don't think they should be required to give wages, debts, income, bank accounts, federal payments or benefits of any source, any financial resources, including state, federal, government benefits, rents, mortgages, child support, loss of employment, loss of business, blah, 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 blah. We all know that the hairdresser can't work. We all know that they've been mandatorily told by the government to be shut down. I think all they need to do is say, I'm a beautician, I pay taxes in the county, I have a business, and the government said I can't work. I don't want to burden them. I just think anybody that's mandatorily put out of business should get a 90-day extension if they ask for it without having to provide literally everything from their financial history.
Okay, 2 reasons, Mr. Chairman. The statute requires that they show good cause.
And that's what I was trying to, is it 593916?
Good cause. It's quoted in the statute. So
wouldn't the governor saying you can't work, isn't that good cause enough?
Well, it also is a second
It's our sole discretion, it says there in the next part.
It's based on our sole discretion to determine what good cause is. But the second component is trying to make sure that the loss of revenues, that you have a budget that you can keep in place to run the county. It is based on the fact that some people can come forward and say, well, I've been out of business, but maybe holding $100,000 in their bank account.
I understand.
That's the reason. It's to target those people who really need it and who deserve it. But for example, let's say that beautician has $100,000 in her bank account down at the bank where she saved her money and got it in her account for her business. Now, then you may have, for example, for good cause shown, does that person have the ability to pay her taxes? She does. Now, you may have another restaurant down the road who has zero amount and broke totally. And so you got to make a distinction of what this does between those people who have the ability to pay and those who don't have the ability to pay, to keep your tax monies coming into the county so that you can run your county. Now, for example, if you gave a blanket exemption to everybody in the county because of coronavirus, you can be short millions of dollars, or maybe $1 million or more. And so this is a targeted ability to make sure that those people who really need it would have the ability to. So you have to have some legal basis, good cause, and the only way good cause can be shown is they share in confidence their financial matters with them, with the treasurer, so that she can make a case-by-case basis to determine what is good cause. Now, good cause is what is defined in there. Is it the loss of income? It says they've got to show that they've lost income, they've lost business, they lost profits, lost contracts for good cause to be shown. That's it.
I just want to make sure that we do everything we can to worry about our business people and our citizens first and our tax revenue second. So that's just what I don't want to have to tell a beautician or whoever it may be that's been told by the government you can't do what you do to support your family, and then us as Dickinson County say, well, with our hand out and saying, well, you know, you're out of work, but you still got to pay the piper. That's just what I wanted to make clear, you know, and I don't want to burden those people. And I've seen them and talked to a lot of them. They're under enough stress as it is, and you know, they don't have accountants. They don't necessarily have access to all the resources to be able to just easily provide all this financial information. And that's where I hope our treasurer will use some discretion and not, you know, put undue burden on those people.
Let me give you a real poignant example of what happened in this last round of stimulus package. There were people, companies, who got millions of dollars who didn't need it.
Oh yeah, I know. We have the PPP program.
Yeah, the millions, and I mean tens of millions of dollars who didn't need it, who had money in their banks, who had money in their accounts and assets to take care of their employees, but they got it. Yeah, and that's what this is attempting to do, is to target those people who really need the help. And I trust the treasurer. She is a good person. She's a good treasurer, and she'll make the right decisions for these people, I believe.
Do we have any more discussion or questions on the resolution?
I guess the other side of this that I will mention, Mr. Chairman, is also with this last round of stimulus money from Washington, a good example I think my brother expressed to me, he's in they manufacture pipes for drilling companies, for oil drilling, and they're getting money. They held off on layoffs until they got that money, but if you look at what's been going on in the oil industry, they're already shutting down anyways because of the fight between Russia and OPEC anyway, so it became a tone to them in their favor. So that's another reason you want to have some kind of criteria.
But it's trying to balance out the right of the citizens to have some help with the opportunity to try to keep a semblance of a budget so that you can run the county. That's what it's trying to balance, the test.
Do I hear any other questions, discussions, or motions in regard to the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and second. All those in favor of the resolution authorizing the treasurer to grant reasonable extension of time to pay taxes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. And we'll move on to 11C. right, David? I guess
Yes.
the rails to trails piece.
Yep, and that's on a separate, that's on your handout. It's a single-page resolution.
And I appreciate Rita Surratt bringing this sort of to our attention, and I guess I inferred from David, this was already on the radar of some people.
Yeah.
It was, it's been an issue that there was a period of public comment. Basically what it is there's a section of rail that CSX owns. They are looking to abandon. It's actually 13.65 miles. And what the county's interest has become is that this through work with our tourism, our IDA, and probably some other partners with the help of Mr. Phillips and the IDA Council and basically everybody, we'd really like to see potential to do some type of rails to trails program. And so in order to kickstart this, we first need to provide a resolution of support showing that Dickinson County is interested in coming to the table. And I believe we get a year to work with CSX in order to develop some type of program that both sides are amenable to. So this is the first step in that process. This will be an ongoing process that'll last for a while. I'm asking for your approval of the resolution, and if Mr. Phillips has anything he'd like to add.
If I can,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, at your request, I drafted the resolution, and what it says is that Dickinson County supports the conversion of the railway from Fremont to Georgia's Fork. I guess it's where it ends up. And it's called the Rail to Rail Project. And if you approve that tonight, then what I will be doing is drafting a petition letter to the Transportation Board, putting a placeholder in place which will allow the county and the IDA to negotiate with CSX for the right-of-way usage out there to develop. There's grant monies available, there's help out there available in terms of trying to, from the state. And so I think it's a good opportunity to move this forward with this resolution, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. And I
Now,
appreciate
this
it.
goes from Fremont to where?
I think it's Georgia's Fork.
That was what my question
It
was.
would be Lick Fork, wouldn't
I'm
it?
sorry.
Because
Lick
I
Fork.
have already got
Lick
an
Fork.
email that they are going to do away with the one on Route 637, which is Rock House, and also the one on 72, which is Lick Fork out there, that they are going to abandon those. I got
What
that about 3 or 4 months
McClure?
ago.
Was that on there?
I think they still use that.
Now, this actually starts at Fremont.
Tunneling?
Yes, that all comes, that's all
Or,
part
I
of
mean,
it.
the other side didn't come through the
It does,
tunnel,
yes. That's corrected, that's where it is.
It's Lick Fork.
Lick Fork.
and they're gonna take up the rails.
It's
They-
that one on 72.
If the county doesn't intervene, they will move forward with the abandonment. The county is getting ready to file a petition after you approve tonight, which will go to the Transportation Board, which will put everything on hold. They will not do anything to that as long as this petition that we'll file on your behalf is in place, and gives the county an opportunity to negotiate for the use of that right-of-way and corridor.
So is there a possibility that they wouldn't take up the rail?
It depends if you want it taken up or not. It depends on what your usage of it is.
I know, I have talked to Harmon Kilgore, and we've worked with this because I have a lot of problems out on Lick Fork for potholes, and VDOT can't get within 7 foot of a rail to maintain it. They have to stay, and so CSX has given them permission to go all the way to the rails to repair now.
More than likely, to answer your question, the rails probably will come up along with the ties, but we'll leave the gravel or the ballast in place to
Right,
allow
for the
you
trail.
to develop the trail along the
Yeah.
ballast.
Have you ever been to that one in Appalachia? That's what.
No, but I was just thinking about one of these days, it would be a really good idea to, somewhere in Kentucky, they have you ride the rail, and you stop at a abandoned mine, and people can see what it was like to mine, and that would be a great tourist thing, if you ask me.
It's gonna be up to you and the IDA to determine how.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted the rail in place and you wanna do something like that, that's possible.
I don't know how we'd find the engine, the railroad engines for it, but
CSX will probably have a
Well,
lot.
they
they
move-
probably have a lot of them, they might give them away.
Yeah. So,
And that would be a good tourist attraction, I think, sort of like Tweetsie.
So
There'd be a
then-
coal mining camp.
So that's what it is, Mr. Chairman.
You gotta have places to stop, right? You're talking about leaving the tracks there?
Yeah.
Cause the plan I'd seen earlier didn't involve any place where it would stop in Dickinson County. It was Elkhorn City and to St. Paul. Mr. Phillips,
Yes, sir.
we're at, no, the other Mr. Phillips.
Okay.
We need your building now. Cause that would be a good tourist thing to have for part of this.
If we had the old stand or.
Yeah.
I move we, pass this resolution.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and second to support the, CSX resolution. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also.
I'm glad to see that because
Yes.
it gets it to Fremont and it gets something possibly to start in the Irvington district to have some access to that. And then if it should go on towards McClure, you know, because at Fremont, there's two tracks. The upper track there across the river from Fremont Church is the track that goes up through the tunnel. The lower track is the one that goes down through Hayside that I think the train still runs on. So, you know, that
Right.
puts some kind of access to possibly some kind of trail for McClure people or Irvington in. Okay.
Good effort. All right, so we'll move on to item 12A. David, or Mr. Moore, do you or Mr. Phillips want to elaborate on that?
I can tell
Whoever,
you.
whichever one.
Which one is it, Mr. Chairman?
12A, the
Thunder
Thunder River Campground Extension Project. I didn't know if there was
I can tell
anything.
you. Thunder River, there's a campground expansion project that the IDA has been working with the owners on. The IDA was applicant, well, the county actually will be the applicant for a grant through the Cumberland Plateau Regional Opportunity Program. The county has to be the recipient of that. Then at that point, we will partner with the IDA, who will then partner with the owners of Thunder River Campground in order to be able to do an expansion project down there. Other than that, the IDA is fully supportive of this project. I know that we have worked with Mr. Hill and his wife for years trying to help them with develop their property down in Hayside, and this is another one of those good projects that we were able to finally get some grant funding for, and so I'll ask that you approve this.
Yes, that is
I make a motion.
beautiful place down there.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor of approving the Thunder River Campground Agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Move on to 12B, try to move along a little bit. This is the Contura
There is
Paramount agreement.
yes, there's an agreement that has been in place with I guess back then it Paramount. It goes back to 2005. I think it told me duty, and I read through here. Is that where
correct.
Okay.
It is. We used to have
That
a law
agreement
firm.
has been renewed throughout for as many terms as it can be. I think it had 2 successive 5-year renewals, so it's set to expire at the end of the month. I was contacted by Mr. Paul Mullins, who represents Contura. They would like to see that agreement extended for another 5 years, based on the same terms, and I have talked to Mr. Phillips about this, and I think we agree that we were agreeable to a 5-year extension in order to help them out, so I just ask that you pass this.
Mr. Chairman, this little tract of land, it's not very big, and there was, I'm trying to recall the genesis of where this came from, but we county got, somebody gave us some property over there.
$6,000 to get out of it?
It was a little old small tract of land. I think it was like 2, 3, 4, 5 acres or something. It's made you more money than any piece of property you got in Dickinson County. And so, that's what it amounts to. They'll pay you $6,000 for a renewal, and basically it's inaccessible. It's not available to anything else. It's it's way out there in Boondocks. In Duty.
I did mean to mention it's not one of those dollar arrangements. We get $6,000 for the 5-year term. So.
I have a motion by Ms. Willis, second by Mr. Peters. All those in favor of approving this agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Move along to C, 12C.
Robinson Farmer Cox Associates is the audit firm which does the audit for the county, the school board, the PSA, and behavioral health. It's that time of year again. We actually had thought about doing an RFP this year, but, well, between the logistics of going without an attorney for 2 months and then having coronavirus catch us and aftermath, thought it'd be best just to go ahead and re-up so that we can get on an audit schedule, because we have a requirement for our audit to be finished by the end of November. So I'm just asking that you approve this. It was done with only a $500 increase in fee from last year to this year, and I just ask that you approve this so we can begin our preliminary work with our auditor.
Any discussion?
How much does it cost?
Everybody all in is $48,000. That's for all 4 entities.
Well, I noticed, I went back because this name rang a bell, and I went back to March expenses, and March 24th, we paid them $47,500. Now, when was that audit for?
That was for last June's audit. I had asked them not to bill me until they were complete.
Oh, okay.
And so we were not able to get everything completed until in January. We had a hold up with one section of the IDA's audit. So once it was completed, then I had them, instead of progress billing me, I'd had them just bill me once. And so that was for the payment of last June's audit.
For 2019.
This is actually for contractually obligated for the audit of June 30, 2020, the end of the year that we're currently in now. That was for last year's audit.
I go along with the rest, but I sure would like to see it bid out. I mean, there's some.
That was going to be the intent, but as I said, I went without legal counsel for almost 2 months and just did not have the ability to get everyone together to RFP this. But I would ask we approve this, because we can't afford to be late on a calendar. If we could get this approved, then I think a good plan would be to send it out for proposal next
This is Wise
January,
County?
February.
These people from Wise
No,
County?
they're from
Blacksburg.
They're from Blacksburg.
Blacksburg.
They specialize in
That guy
governmental
David
audit.
Cox, I mean,
They specialize in local government
Yeah,
audits.
no,
They actually provide a lot of assistance to us in addition to the audit work that they do.
you get a book from them after they do the audit.
When they do their audit, do they come in and ask you, do they audit the whole thing, the whole year, or a whole 6 months, or do they select a period, like a month?
No.
They look at the entire 12 months, but they do sample testing. I mean, that's part of
They
being
pull this and pull
yes. And they sample test from each of our entities. I mean, it's like anything else. If it's
I
material,
know
they look
from
at
working
it.
in the commissioner's
Otherwise, it's
office,
sample.
it takes you days to hunt up the stuff that they need.
They also, our we're actually doing data collection for right now. If we have to
Yeah,
stay on
and
Get
the
a
calendar.
local law
And
firm,
so
that I'd rather give it to.
we have to have a lot of preliminary work done before
CPA
the end
firm.
of June. And most of the time, the only
Good.
person that gets interviewed by them is
Hope we
me.
can bid it out next year then.
Yeah. But
I make a motion that we approve the Robinson Farmer Cox Associates for our auditors.
Here a second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Move on to number 13. I guess everyone had seen Mr. Vanover's resignation from the IDA, so that leaves in a vacancy, I guess. Is that by district, David?
yes, this one was correct. You did look that up. It was a district specific.
It is.
Yeah, it was David Perry.
So I guess will this person fill out his unexpired term, or this?
Yeah.
Okay.
It will.
He was just appointed.
He was just appointed in June of 19,
When's the term in?
23,
4-year term.
23,
Yeah.
June of
I thought it was
23.
3-year term. Was it 4-year?
It's a 4-year term, but this person that you choose will only be,
3, a little
fill
over
out
3 years.
his
Yeah,
term.
they will fill out Mr. Vanover's term, which ends June 30th of 2023.
A little more than 3 years.
Oh, this is my district. I'd
Yes,
like
it
to
is.
nominate somebody.
Before you do,
Yep,
can I
yeah.
ask a question?
Yes.
So it goes to the district where somebody left? Is that what you're saying?
The IDA has 7 members.
Yeah.
5 are district specific, and there are 2 at-larges. The one was vacated by Mark Vanover,
Right.
but he had been a Clintwood district appointment by
Yeah.
David Perry.
Who are the at-larges?
Allen Campton.
Eric Price is an at-large, I believe.
Al
And-
Kempton's Irvington district, isn't he?
No, he isn't. He's,
Eric Price and
I
Shane
think he's
Hillman.
at large.
Yeah, those are the two. Those are the two.
That's right.
I'm just wondering how you guys did that. I didn't know. Thank
Do
you.
you have a name, Ms. Sloan?
Yes, I do. Matthew Fuller, I'd like to nominate him. He lives in the Clintwood district. He is, his family, he graduated from Hayside High School. He has a degree in mass communication. He's also, he and his family and 3 children. His wife teaches at Ridgeview. He works over here at Intervest. And I think he would be a good member of the IDA board, and I would like to nominate Matthew Fuller.
Any discussion, questions?
Just, what was the last name again?
Fuller.
Fuller, okay.
Doesn't his mother Rebecca work in the
She works in
registrar's
the
office?
registrar's shop.
Yeah.
They owned the small business at Hayside for years and years. I think his daddy's named Roger.
I'll second it.
Good person. All those in favor of Ms. Sluss's motion, Mr. Peters' second of appointment of Mr. Fuller, Matthew Fuller, to the IDA board, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Number 14, this is an issue that me and David have done a lot of work on with Mr. Newberry's office. I think Mr. Newberry has contacted you all a little bit, everybody else, is that right, and discussed this grant opportunity. It's a Department of Justice grant opportunity upwards of $500,000 that the Dickinson County could possibly receive if we get everything in the application. Ms. Cheryl Robinette, the drug court coordinator for Dickinson County, has a grant writer from Virginia Tech who is doing this for free to get this grant application in. I know David and I were on a conference call with Mr. Newberry and Cheryl and the grant writer last week, something like that. And we will be obligated for some in-kind contributions to a match, and that would be in the realm of office space, telephone, internet, that kind of thing. So really stuff we're already paying for. But I appreciate David's work on this, and Mr. Newberry for bringing it to our attention, and of course Cheryl. But we're not really out anything by doing this application. No. This could be a really, really good thing for the county.
Sounds great.
Does anybody, and do you want to explain this?
Well, and what you have in front of you, one, you do have a memorandum of understanding that will be actually between the county and the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. I think that Stephen Mullins worked with Mr. Phillips to develop this. And there's also a letter of commitment. These are 2 pieces that the county has to contribute to the grant application. It's the only 2 pieces that we had to. What Josh alluded to as far as us in providing our in-kind, that will be in the letter of commitment. We will circulate that as soon as it's finished, but we just did not have a chance to get that letter completed. But I would ask that you authorize us to execute both the MOU and the letter of commitment pending a review by Mr. Phillips and myself, and also Mr. Evans, because he's been a part of this since we started the discussion. So the 3 of us will look over these to make sure they look good, and then we'll submit that. And then once that's all done, we'll give you a copy of everything that we actually committed to. But it doesn't go beyond the in-kind contribution that Josh talked about.
And this is a big deal, you all. If we could get this and start $500,000. I mean, we could really make a dent in our addiction issues, or I know Mr. Fleming and Mr. Owens can echo this. This could really help us a lot in Dickinson County. So
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second the motion that we approve A and B, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Both pieces.
I have a motion and second to approve the memorandum of understanding for pursuit of the drug court grant. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Also, 15A, move on.
Well, we're finally we've tried for years to get the next phase of the Crane's Nest Trail completed. We've been able to attain a DMME grant. We've gone through all of their preliminary hurdles. We've done our advertisements, we've gotten our responses, and so tonight we actually are here to award a contract. So I had Lehman write this out for me so that I wouldn't screw it up. So I'm going to read the motion, and then I will just need an acceptance of that motion and a second, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them if I can. I need a motion that the Cranes Nest Trail Porter Closure Project bid be awarded to McFall Excavating in the amount of $602,430, and that the chairman be authorized to execute the contract, issue the notice to proceed upon receipt of the same signed contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance from the contractor, and after review and approval by Mr. Phillips. So that contract was to McFall Excavating, and the low bid was $602,430, and that is within budget.
Because he's not in.
And would note, just for the record, that McFall Excavating was the only local bidder for this particular project.
That is correct.
And they were significantly lower than the next bid.
Which
So
is
I'm
good.
proud to give this to a local company that employs a lot of Dickinson County people.
I so moved on your motion.
Here, a second. All those in favor of awarding this bid to McFall Excavating, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. And okay, B15B.
Okay, following the same vein, this is another project. This is a VDOT project that the county has worked on for several years to try to get VDOT to agree to work through the details. We've also were able on the same day to have all that advertisement process fulfilled and accepted bids. And so I have a similar motion that I need to have approved and seconded. I will need a motion for the Rita's Lane project bid be awarded to Glass Machinery and Excavation in the amount of $151,187.87, and that the chairman be authorized to execute the contract, issue the notice to proceed upon receipt of the signed contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance from the contractor, and upon review and approval by Mr. Phillips.
I'll make that motion.
I got a question. David, do you have any idea, and you maybe you don't, and I don't necessarily expect you to, but I noticed that Glass's bid was significantly $39,000 below McFall's. Is there any idea why there's such, and I know the high bid was $350 by Boyd's.
Way up there, yes.
Why is there such a variance?
Typically in this, with this type project, of course, their asphalt's going to come from the same plant, so that's typically not it. Normally, it comes down to who's more motivated to try to get the work.
Glass also
Right
carries
here.
a lot of subcontractor fees.
Glass has
They just
actually
bought a
done
payment.
VDOT work for the last several years
Yeah.
as subcontractors, so they probably are better positioned than some of the others.
And that's what
As far as equipment and personnel
Where's
to
that
be able to
company
do this.
from? Glass.
It says Jonesville.
It's in Lee County.
Yes, they're from Lee County, and this one actually is within budget as well.
And I know, Mr. Phillips, we're bound to the low bidder statutorily. I mean, we don't have
VDOT
any
uses
sort
Glass
of.
a
That's
lot.
correct.
But I would love to give this to a Dickinson County company, but we just don't, we can't. I would love to, but anyway, I just
Should've been
wondered
lower.
why that's a $200,000 difference.
Typically with my best guess, and I'm just guessing here, educated guess, Glass being that they have specialized over the last several years in having VDOT subcontract work, probably is better position to have the personnel and machinery needed, and they just came in with a lower bid.
If I can, Mr. Chairman, piggybacking on what he said, Glass Machinery does a lot of work in Dickinson County.
Yeah, they do.
And they do employ Dickinson County people.
Yeah, they do.
And so, but they are under bond. Once this happens, there's a bond in place. If they can't do it for that, then there's a bond that kicks in.
They actually were the contractor on the Ridgeview Road project. So,
I know they do good work.
And at that time, they did employ quite a few Dickinson County residents to be part of their team to work on that. So they do, while they are not located here by main office, they do employ and have a pretty good presence in this county.
Mr. Chairman, they have since moved, they also, like I said, they have Jonesville, but they've also put an office over in Coburn now to serve this area.
Freddie Lucas.
So they're right across the hill there. They're down there right across from working the floor. Where the Kawasaki used to be, but they do employ a lot of our people.
Any, other discussion or comments, or hear any motions?
Well, I'll make a motion.
I'll
To
second.
adopt Mr. County Administrator's,
The motion that I read.
That's
To
your motion.
adopt David Moore's, that he read, motion that he read.
statement.
Statement. That Mr. Moore
Let me
read.
read it again.
And did I hear a second?
I second.
All those in
I'd like
favor
to
of
know
adopting
how you got
Mr.
that
Moore's, recommended motion in regard to the Rita's Lane contract, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Also. Item C, this is an item that I requested be on the agenda.
It does, but I don't know.
As we remember, I think it was the February meeting, we voted to appropriate $20,000 to the Department of Social Services, what I understood it to be emergency, for lack of a better term, gravel fund. It's my understanding here, it's the end of April, and that money's not even been appropriated yet. And as everybody knows, we're all inundated with gravel requests, road requests, blah, 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 and I wanted to know if that money's not gonna be used, if we could just keep do a new motion or a motion to reconsider that.
Mr. Chairman, the county administrator may have something to say about it.
I do, and I'd like your assistance in helping me tell this. When, of course, after the February 6th weather event and then the subsequent days, the number of requests was off the chart.
Right.
And so when we were here in February, the county has provided financial assistance to the Social Services Emergency Fund for the last, I want to say 3, 4, 5 years. We typically do it in $10,000 increments. Well, we had so many requests, we felt $10,000 probably won't be able to cover the volume of need. So that number was up to $20,000. So once we got to the next step, which is we contact Susan Mullins and her staff, we realized that the volume of requests was so large, she was going to need, and under the guidance of her attorney, I think which Freddie Mullins was the one handling that for her, they needed to implement some internal, we'll call them internal controls. They need a certain checklist of things that they wanted to see established for the use of this money. Well, Mr. Phillips came on board about that same time, and so I then asked that the attorneys get together and develop some type of program to sort of limit the amount of assistance that one person or one family and property could receive. Also to limit the number of times that a person could receive assistance over a certain window. And I still haven't seen, and I'm not sure if you have or not, I still have not seen the final draft of what that agreement is supposed to look like. I'm not sure what part of the process it's tied up in, but I have not gotten the final document.
I think they voted on it. I talked to Susan one day, and her board did vote on it.
Well, and I had asked her to let me know when that happened because I was holding the funds until I saw that they had put
And you
measures
still got,
in
we
place.
still got the funds.
And I still have it. Yep.
Yeah,
there's-
now I was on the phone with them yesterday.
Social services?
Yeah, social services.
But they're
And-
gonna
and-
send it for our approval, I think. to see
Well,
if
I was
we
under the
approve.
impression that we were gonna see it tonight, and when I seen it in the agenda, so.
what
I made that request, Ron, just because
No.
I have been just
No, you're fine.
overwhelmed with calls.
But I was
asking for help.
told,
And then I'm sorry.
no, what I'm trying to clarify is, that's fine, that's all fine, but when I seen it on the agenda, I assumed it was here because I was told by social services that it had been done, and when I seen it on the
Okay,
agenda.
I see what you're saying.
They voted on it, I think, the latter part of last week. Part of them were on the phone and part of them were in
Yeah.
person, I think.
Well, like I said, I've been.
It's growing. I had
Well,
one
I've been
called
sending
this
people
weekend.
there, and then they call me back and say, well, they're not helping, we can't get anything done,
Yeah.
and so I said, well, we give them $20,000, I didn't have an answer, so I wanted answers, so that's why it's on here, and I got the answer, and I
I'm
appreciate
not
it.
criticizing, we just gotta clarify it.
Well,
and be done with it.
it didn't seem correct to release funds when they weren't clear on.
I
what
agree with
parameters
you.
Oh, no,
they
you're
were
fine.
going
And I'm
to
glad you did.
use. But if
Yeah.
we can get all of that worked out, the funds are ready, they can be, whenever I get the green light, we can issue the funds the next day.
I'm not,
Oh, she
I'm
did.
glad
She
you did it
did.
this way,
You-
David.
But
She did.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. County Administrator, basically, there was an issue that came up that I had to render an opinion on. The opinion that came to me is the way that they were contemplating, can social services build roads? The obvious answer, no. But they were contemplating doing some road building, as I understand it originally in concept. There was some discussion and some rework of the proposal, and it's made into a grant program like most social services is a grant program. And so that policy has been, I think it is now in conformity with the law, and they went back for their review, and now I understand, no one told me that they have now adopted that policy, and it may be coming back to you to adopt as well. And so that policy has been drafted, it is there, and it is in compliance with the law, and it should be available to the public as soon as.
And with it being a budget issue consideration, we're looking to have a budget workshop next week. We also have one on the 11th, and we have our meeting on the 19th. Whenever we get that, we'll bring it to that very next meeting.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Just shoot an email or we'll do it that way, whatever.
When we get it, we'll shoot it by email to you for your review, and the next time that we meet, we can vote to accept it if we find the terms agreeable.
Thank you very much.
So don't get me wrong,
At this point, Mr. Chairman, the county administrator, we didn't know what the Board of Social Services was going to adopt it. Apparently, they have adopted it, and I didn't know it myself, that they have adopted it.
And that's sort of why I wanted, if they're not going to, then let's just not.
Then we wouldn't fund it.
And then I'll quit telling people that. That was kind of where I was.
Well, and I've been very cautious because I expect that the rope's gonna be tightened up quite a bit.
Yes.
So a lot of these folks that have turned stuff in, we may not be.
Will not be eligible, but we had to have the criteria for their eligibility before we wanted to give out the money.
It's a money issue, we don't have the money to do it.
Well, we're limited by law as far as the lot that we can do, and Mr. Phillips was a huge help in helping us draw those lines.
That's fine.
Okay.
We're good, we just haven't gotten here yet.
I'm glad you didn't.
We'll get that, we'll circulate it, and we'll take it up the next time we get together.
15D, is that right?
Yes.
Am I on track? Okay. And this is the
Quick claim deed.
Correct, on project 500. I guess we're still calling it that.
This actually is the document where we will transfer the Clintwood High School property to the IDA. If you remember, the IDA had submitted an application to VCTA for the demolition of the Clintwood High School buildings and also the building at Hayside. This is one of the pieces of the puzzle because the IDA actually physically has to have an ownership stake in the property before they're allowed to accept the VCTA funds. So this is on the Clintwood property. Just so you know, we are working a path to get the same document ready for Hayside High School, and once we get all those, we'll be ready to develop a demo program for both properties, and we'd like to do those on a parallel path.
And I've been, obviously this is a big deal. It's kind of a big deal to the community. I've answered a lot of questions the best I can. The reason this has to happen, and of course, Mr. Phillips, you can enlighten if you want, but we have to, statutorily, for VCTA monies to be allocated to a project, that must go through the county's Industrial Development Authority.
That's correct.
That, I'm not saying that's right, I'm not saying it's wrong, but that's what's in the Code of Virginia. So that's been the number one question I've asked, well, why are you giving it to the IDA? And well, because we have to get them.
That's where the money's coming.
That's where the money comes through to do the work on it. So that's, I do that just to point that out.
If I might give you a little bit of more information in trying to move this project ahead, we put in some deadlines to move it ahead, and this deed is the first step. The 500 project revision of the contract, both of those things that this board wanted in there will be in that revised contract. And when the time comes, you'll be able to see that revised contract. And so discussions have been had with 500, and they are agreeable to both of those. Actually 3 requirements. And so we should have that for you, we hope, for your just for your review, not for approval, but the IDA has to approve that, but for your review to make sure you're okay with it. And so we should have that next month for your review.
Do I hear any other discussion or motions regarding this quitclaim deed? Any motions?
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve the quitclaim deed as presented. Here, second.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we're 2 hours in, I've tried to move it as quick as I can.
Mr. Chairman, you've got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, I know that, and I've really tried to move it along. I guess we'll go to 16.
Now you got 15.
No, you
Oh,
got
F,
another
I'm sorry,
one.
yes.
Or F. Yeah, where are we?
F.
F. E, F.
Yeah, and I'm the one that asked for E, so
Yeah.
that goes.
I was gonna say,
Don't forget that.
And I know we're 2 hours in, so I don't wanna beat anybody to death tonight, but Ron, I know you all did a lot with the Cumberland Plateau with Point Broadband.
I can give you something that, just broadly what.
Yeah. I just
Anyone
wanna.
in your communities, the best advice I could give you if you wanna get connected through Point Broadband is if you got someone that'll network with their neighbors and you all call in orders, because those people are Point Broadband's gonna work the jobs that are profitable for them first. Now, in addition, Cumberland Plateau will come back later and try to work those underserved or unserved with their money. But for you to get a reaction on Point Broadband, we just, I guess I should share with you something that kind of was disturbing to me. We initially had 3 sites picked to do hotspots in the county. One was Breaks Park, one was Ridgeview, and the third one was downtown Hayside. And that was the cheapest one, so that's the one Point Broadband paid for. The other 2 are to be funded by Cumberland Plateau. And it doesn't make sense to do Breaks Park right now because it's closed down. So then I don't know if they've done Ridgeview yet, but during this mess with the coronavirus, there was an effort to try to launch and get something moving quickly to try to maybe look at an additional area like here in Clintwood where people could, like a drive-in theater, pull up and get access to the internet. Well, Cumberland Plateau is working with Point Broadband to get that, but lo and behold, one of our local boys came and did it right away the next day. Yeah, they did. And so they're not now.
Hillcom did one at
But,
Wood Lime.
well, Hillcom did do it. Hillcom did do it. And that's what I'm saying, this whole thing's been dragging feet over getting pole leases, and they're working through it, and they're getting some of them approved now, but they're having to lease space on these power poles to put the lines out to these communities. But to get ready for it, Point Broadband's gonna be focused on those that are gonna make them money. So my advice is like in Clintwood and these towns where you got a bunch of customers congregated, if they do their own networking and turn in requests to Point Broadband, maybe it'll stimulate them to come out.
So how much does the fiber just go through the town of Clintwood? I mean, is there any?
No,
I run down the highways.
You got fiber on your ridge.
No, the fiber they laid the fiber,
Yeah,
Cumberland Plateau laid the fiber.
Yeah.
But like Brush Creek and Skeet Rock, the Lake Road, those are all places where I just get requests. We have to request for internet access.
Who is Point Broadband?
They're the ones that
Used to
bought
be
out
Sunset Digital.
BVUs, originally this belonged to BVU and Cumberland Plateau, all this fiber that was laid throughout the county, and it's down all the highways.
Is that the one Scott County put down?
No, Scott County buys access from them.
Right.
But originally this came from federal money that we got to put fiber into all the 4 counties and
So
really.
what can we do? I'm like Josh, I want to see everybody have access.
Oh, I do
What
too. We all
What
do.
can we do to get that?
Well, that's what I'm asking Dave. What can we start like now?
You have to have that 2-home, 2-business provider. That's where the weak link and all, because the backbone back in the day through the BVU.
It was only for businesses.
Was done,
Only for
but
business.
BVU was only allowed to sign up businesses. So where our county has really, but you have to go back in time. At that point in time, BVU had a well-structured plan that they were going to put together a program for all the rural counties, which they included Russell, us, and maybe part of Buchanan in. and they were gonna develop a program to do all this in-home internet and TV service. That was how they were going to get it done. They drug us to Bristol to pitch this idea. I had just started when this all was talked about. It never happened.
Well, I think one thing where there was some legislation that shut down the cable TV piece of
It
it.
did, but now what you have to understand is, what's so maddening about this is that the backbone of what you need is here.
Yeah.
The problem that
Meaning
you
the
have,
core
the problem
fiber.
you have is
Yeah.
that areas like where you and I live, you got overlap of providers
right.
that will do anything.
Skeet Rock, you don't have nothing.
Skeet Rock, once you get so far out Lake Road, it just ends.
Well, what can we do to open a dialogue to try to service
You
those
don't have any on
areas?
72 either, do you?
That's right, that's exactly
I
right.
mean,
I
do we
just
know
now
what-
got some on Honeycamp.
I would like to invite
Well,
Kenny
I think
in and say,
Here,
what can we
here
do
are
to
your
help?
here are your three real players right now.
I just about got
Scott
my
County,
district.
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
Hillcom,
I don't know.
and
Like
whatever we
72.
can get point broadband
Broadband.
to commit to. Now, that one's a little harder for me to give you the lockdown, because I've not worked with point broadband very much. I've worked with Hillcom, and I've worked with Scott County quite a bit. Scott
County's great.
Scott County has done a really excellent job.
Yeah,
of
they
Let
that-
off on
that
Kenny
neck of
Reed
the
anyway.
woods.
Yeah, but they didn't come out my ridge. They went right down beside me. I got a mile.
I go
You're
to
right, but
every
here's
meeting
the
that they
reason,
have.
And what-
here's the reason why.
What-
A lot of these are tuned into the grant mechanisms that are available, and they're going out looking for these grants.
That's exactly
Now,
right.
who gets the grant, and it'll be for a specific area. They got these CAF 2 areas that are certain areas in the geographics of the 4 counties, and that, they did get some money for that. But
So does
we-
Cumberland Plateau have access to money?
Yes,
They put
And
it on
there is a
Sandy
committee,
Ridge.
and I
Yeah.
think, correct
They
me,
went down.
Eric
Do you
Price.
have fiber optic?
I just like seeing me.
You're-
do that.
you're-
My
one of
Shelby's
your-
an internet wizard, we need to.
Well,
One of your
they
key-
went down my ridge, but when it come to turn out Bice Ridge, they bypassed it.
one
They
of
will
your key
come
points of
back
contact
later.
for this is
I
Eric
bet they
say
Price.
it's
He's
not
on
hooked
a
up.
committee
Yeah.
with Cumberland Plateau.
As
But I don't know
they'll
if
come
Point
back as
Broadband's
they
been
get
using them very
grants.
much.
We've gotta do it.
I think the
mean,
best thing we can do.
We're all
Why
pushing
don't we
for it.
appoint,
If
why
we
don't
as
we have
leaders
somebody from
wanted
Scott
to do
County to
something,
come
I
visit
think
us?
we should ask for a meeting with Planning District, have somebody from
Yeah.
Hillcom, Scott County, Point Broadband, and also Eric
Yep.
be part of this meeting and say,
Agreed.
what can we do to help out these people? Because
We-
we have people that
Hey,
really don't live that far from where
Believe
they
me,
live
I dropped the
today.
hammer at our meetings
I know you
before.
fought a lot of battles over that.
Well, the reason, we were sitting there, we're past a year, and Point Broadband hadn't delivered on their contractual requirements. So we've been,
I know we've got a lot of big ticket things, which hopefully some of these are gonna be over, but that's something, David, as we move to the summer, if we can facilitate a conversation.
some of what
with
you,
whoever.
I
to
like to see it
understand
like
this,
water. 99% of people have it.
when we got in office the last time, we walked into Cumberland Plateau, and that's when we were told that we're in a major litigation suit with BBU, because BBU had upped and decided who they were gonna sell
It
this
lasted
to.
the
It
4
took the
years.
whole 4 years to get that rolling, and the last year of it was Point Broadband, or really it was Sunset at the time, went back to BBU for some of the money that really belonged to us.
But am I dreaming, or was it, and again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I thought I remembered a time when Point Broadband came to Clintwood to one of your all's meetings and said, we're gonna
They
do
did.
this and
Yeah,
that
they
and
did.
this, and so what happened to that?
Their holdup is they've been struggling to get AEP to lease pole connections to them.
Now
because they have to
listen,
run-
when Scott County came down Caney Ridge, there was poles that had to be replaced. It took them almost 2.5 to 3 years to get down Caney Ridge, because they had to have poles replaced. They have to get the right of ways on the pole. If the poles don't sustain that weight of that
A lot
cable,
of cost.
then they have to have them changed.
And we had to help Scott County Telephone to get
And
AEP to even want to play ball in that,
what-
because AEP had no motivation to do what she's talking about.
And that's what is holding up Point Broadband in
Yeah.
a lot of areas, is the AEP poles.
And what can we do, just complain?
Well,
Or-
they're getting through some of the roadblocks, but initially they couldn't get AEP to even talk to them.
They
It took them
went
over a
to
year.
Ohio, to Canton, to talk to AEP
Mr. Chairman,
also.
may I?
Yes, sir.
Make a suggestion? I suspect it's a legislative
That's,
remedy.
that's what
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna say.
I suspect it's a legislative remedy And I suspect that if your local delegation, if this board would put together a resolution requesting the next session of the General Assembly that they introduce certain legislation
To mandate
to mandate co-location, I think that would solve a lot of problems.
we need.
Oh,
we
and
need-
in that resolution, Mr. Phillips,
I
you
know
need to
that's
highlight what was the governor's one of the governor's number one things? Was
Rural
to get this
broadband.
internet out. You know,
We've gotta have
we
it.
need to highlight all that too.
I think there could be standards set up by statute that would streamline and require co-location on these poles.
If I could speak, on April 2nd, I'm looking at a Facebook message that I messaged a girl named Angela Helton. She lives over within 3 miles of the county line out of Sand Lake. She lives off the main road. I think it's Morning Glory Road or something. Anyway, there's just 2 or 3 houses up at the main top, plus there's some more. And she messaged me about, as I campaigned, her complaint to me about not having good internet. So on April 2nd, I sent her a message that I had just talked with someone and that he had said that that he would have someone else to give me a call. The person I talked with was Jim Baldwin, and the person he was going to have to call me has yet to call me. And Jim said that there was grants and they were working on internet for the underserved. And he told me that they had came down council towards Davenport and was getting close to the B area. But B is in Dickinson County and their work is being done in Buchanan County.
That's Point Broadband.
Yeah, that was Point Broadband. And that lady messaged me back and thanked me for that and said that will end 3 miles from my house. But the guy that Jim Baldwin was going to have to call me, which is a Puckett guy from Abington, has still not called. But now, if you go on the internet and you type in Point Broadband and you bring their site up and you press the button as though you want to call them, it will tell you that the phone number is 844-407-6468, which is the same phone number on the television advertisements for Point Broadband. That is not their number. That goes somewhere else.
Probably goes to Atlanta.
Well, when I called it, I apologized for calling the wrong number. So when I called back, thought I might have misdialed it. I called back and the lady, and I told her, and she says, you do not know how many times we get these calls. We have nothing to do with that company. And she says, I've often wondered how we got these calls. I said, go on the internet, type in Point Broadband, look their phone number up, and this is the phone number you get. So I went on Point Broadband's website and entered in my address that I was interested in internet. Well, they called me, and I didn't write their phone number down, I forgot it. It's on my home phone at home. 10 or 12 days ago, when she called to ask me what was my house number, they have still yet to call me back. But the thing about Trammell, that everybody is all uproared in Trammell wanting wanting to hook up on internet, it runs through Trammell. David Austin, that lives at the upper end of it, is on it. And he says it is wonderful service.
Yep.
But I can't get through to talk to nobody to find out what's the criteria.
Jim should be able to give you Joe's number. Joe is the Point Broadband contact person in this area.
Well, and I will tell you that I had a customer.
And I probably have it at home.
Okay.
I didn't mean to open a can of worms.
Well, no, but
this
I
is a good. We got to do this.
No, we do, because we need to be put
Well,
to
Yeah, we
pressure.
gotta do this.
The people that's listening on internet sees that we are concerned.
This is a
And they
big
have
deal.
these comments that were.
I had a customer or citizen out towards Vanson, on Vicey Mountain Road.
Yeah, I know exactly where it is.
Fiber runs right down the highway. He's the first house up on the road, right above it. The response we got back from Point Broadband, we are not offering service in your area. So I referred that to Joe Puckett, but again, their rollout is slow. I really think we need to voice a concern too, because I feel their focus is not on our county, but on some bigger counties like Tazewell
And I think that's why a meeting among our leaders with the planning district
Population.
and the other
Yes.
parties is in line.
When is your all's next executive,
it got canceled for this month.
that's where,
Yeah, well, I've been voicing it, but the
We
problem
all
is, they're just now starting to get some of the poll leases, but of course, they're not for Dickinson County, and that's what I wanted to throw out, what Hillcom did in Clintwood, is the brainstorm idea was to switch the Breaks Park one from Point Broadband to Clintwood,
so these
to help
kids
out with
could
this
go
situation we're in right now.
right.
Well,
their homework.
a week later, nothing but Hillcom came in to deliver, just like Scott County's come in to deliver.
Well, I'd like to help them.
They did it on their own. Well, that's what our argument on the BVU deal was. Why did it not get offered
To Hill or
to others to bid on it? That was all a big drug deal that was done to save the state.
Mr. Chairman, can I interject just a moment?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I forgot to ask that this board go ahead and to authorize the county administrator to sign the petition to allow us to intervene in the rail abandonment CSX. I need your authority. I want to draft a petition, but the county administrator has to sign it. So I need your authority to go ahead and to allow him to sign that petition to send in to CSX and to the Transportation Board to make sure that we have a placeholder for the CSX abandonment, rail to trail. So I need a motion to allow that to happen, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing motions.
I make a motion
I'll
that we
second.
allow the county administrator to sign the document once it's prepared.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well.
Who seconded that?
Mr. Peters.
I guess with what we were talking about on the internet, Josh, I think the best thing is what Mr. Phillips offered.
I agree.
And what David's offering. I'd say we do both of
Well,
them.
can he Mr. Phillips drop a resolution to?
He will.
Well, what I would recommend is to talk with your local representatives and to get their input first and then see how they wish to proceed. But I believe there can be a standard put together by state law that would say this is a process for co-locating these things on AEP or other poles. And I think that standard could be set up for the Appalachia Power or any other power group could deny the access, and you set that process up. And so I think that's possible. And that would solve that problem. That is a big issue.
Some of them are Verizon poles also.
Yeah, there would be any pole location, whether it be Verizon, whether it be AEP or anybody else, you could develop a standard to do that.
Well, thank you all.
In addition to that, Mr. Phillips, there's a contract with Point Broadband. And they have not met their mark for what they were supposed to have installed. We may want to have you look at that.
I want to do anything we can possibly do to get internet access to our communities. I mean, I have
Me too.
so many homes that they.
We all do. We all do. It's a critical need. But I'm just saying we may want to look at that because I will tell you I have concerns because there was the way the contract was set up is Point Broadband provides two names from Dickinson County, one for business and one for residential, to be on a special board to look at this. And then the Board of Supervisors provided two names. And I'm not sure they're really utilizing those folks that much. So we need to look into that as well.
And you said Eric was one of them.
Eric's one of them. Jason Rhodes and Susan Mullen, and I think Bowling Talbert's the other
And
one.
Eric is one of them.
Yeah.
Calvert Bowling's one.
Do we have an F? Was there a 15 F?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm done.
I'm sorry. Yes.
No, I'm done.
Anything else on the internet?
No.
Okay. Well, 15 F.
Real quick, we have a request that we received from the Registrar Electoral Board. They are interested in exploring moving the Tar Pond voting precinct. Again, last year the Board of Supervisors tackled this issue and it actually was voted to leave it where it is. I had asked them to work with Chris Rakes and, our maintenance guys to get a, cost estimate of what it would take for us to, cause they're interested in relocating that to the truck shop. So, as part of that, just to sort of expedite the process, if you're going to consider moving a voting precinct, you have to hold a public hearing. And I guess the question for you is, are you interested in entertaining this request? And if you are, I would recommend go ahead and set the public hearing for May. We'll have all the information ready by May, and then it can be done and voted, because it will take us a couple of months to get things done. Right now, the best they could hope for is have it relocated for the November election, given everything goes.
I wish Chris or Mr. Ray.
David, would that give us 2 weeks to advertise? It has to be advertised 2 weeks if we're gonna meet the
That's a
19th.
good question.
And we always have people here that does not want it moved.
Well, this lady contacted me that she wanted to move because she said they had no bathroom facilities.
Yeah, I've been inundated with those, and it does, what I was gonna say is Mr. Rakes.
You're just inundated by workers, correct?
Well, true. That's, Mr. Rake says it is not ADA compliant.
It isn't, it isn't.
So, I mean, how can you?
We need to do something,
Yeah.
but the thing that, and in discussing this, the thing that, this is in your district.
Right, I know.
Have you
And
been
what
to
you
that?
gotta weigh.
Oh, yeah.
What you gotta weigh too is it something you wanna go down to one place, or where do you, because the way they were looking before, it was close proximity to the other one, wasn't
They
it?
put it right on the way the district line, it's close to.
Yeah,
attached.
so it's
That
something
seemed to be
you,
the
cause this
public
affects
complaint.
To the
your
urban
voting
district
district.
That is a terrible place for parking. It's a terrible place for traffic on election day. It's not a good place for poll workers. It's not a good place for voters. I mean, obviously, I don't want to expound any kind of significant money to move it, but I think just exposing ourselves to the liability of having a non-ADA compliant facility and the stress it's putting on.
We had talked about modifying the building, but we
We don't
can't
own it.
clarify who owns it.
Right, so
The immediate concern.
I'm open to moving it
The
myself.
immediate concern is if we are ever handed a set of mandates where we have to do like a social distancing within polling places,
Yeah.
that one will never qualify,
No, it won't.
ever.
It's small.
It's
Just given
very
all that,
small.
I have, as far as that being my territory or whatever, I'm in
Is
favor
it
of
about as
moving
big
it.
as that platform?
Not much bigger.
Oh, that's,
It's pretty small.
But again, I don't wanna spend no huge amount of money either.
I don't expect it'll be a large sum of money. If it were, I'd probably try to cut it off. Now, when we looked at it before, the money of moving the precinct wasn't the problem. It was that when we held the public hearing, the public that showed up was against the move of
Yeah,
the
were.
voting location. But since
Because it
all
always
this has
been
such a
there.
tight timeline and it would take some time, if you're going to even consider this, as long as we can meet the 2-week requirement, and we could have it on the website by late this week. Publication wise, it would not be able to be in the paper until next Wednesday.
I'd like to go ahead and move forward with the advertisement. Go
I
ahead.
think
I'm
you
sorry.
need to, because I think there is, speaking of Reba and them, there is some issues that this could become a real big issue, cause that place doesn't qualify.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Yeah.
concerned.
So
I
we
had
need
never
to,
been there until I worked the campus election
yeah.
last June.
Yeah, it's a
So we
nightmare.
do need to move forward with it.
So, well, I guess, do we need action to authorize the advertisement then?
The direction would be, yes, I would need a motion.
I'll make
that
a
you all
motion.
are interested in setting a public hearing.
At our May 19th? Well, I guess we're gonna amend that at.
We can set the public hearing when we set I think we already have another public hearing set.
Mr.
I just
Moore,
wanted to make sure you
while
understood.
we're
No, I-
doing our advertisement and to save some money, I would like to move the Longs Fork precinct back to Longs Fork, because that building will be ready by November. So I thought it might save us some money if we advertise both of them at the
That's a
same
good
time.
idea.
Yeah, that's good.
We do it.
So you wanna make that motion, Shelby, or do we have a motion?
Has
You probably
anyone
need a
went
motion,
out and
Mr. Chairman.
seen the
Both.
food bank building?
Yeah, it's a
No,
big
I
one.
haven't. I didn't know it was up. Is it
Oh
up?
my gosh, it's a gigantic building.
Is it?
Have you been out there?
Unfortunately, no.
Well, you need to
I
drive
do
by.
need to, since
So
I've
I've gotten more questions about that than just the
It-
cow path almost.
It's food bank plus a voting precinct is supposed to be in
Well, it
one.
had- it
It's
had
So
all
is the
that.
food bank moved out there?
No, not yet.
It's
Not
not, it's almost, I've not been in the inside.
I've been abiding by the governor's orders to stay at the house.
what, and Ms. Phillips can correct,
You can
I
drive by.
think you'll
and
need
look
two
at it,
separate
but they
motions,
have
one to
to-
schedule the public hearing for the consideration
gonna
of the
bid
Tarpon
out the
voting
inside
precinct
of
food,
it.
and you're gonna need a separate motion for
Somebody
consideration
do
of
that.
the.
Who would do that?
Well, I'll make a motion to
The one at.
advertise for the Tarpon
Oh, really?
Do we,
public hearing.
That's your district.
Can they
You
go
want
ahead and
to
set
second
the
it?
public hearing
Well,
now?
Yes, it can.
Okay, I'd rather just do this all at once. You're authorizing to advertise,
right,
schedule the public hearing, and go ahead and schedule the public hearing.
People
That
can't
would
even
be
imagine.
May 19th. We'll do Tarpon first, so we'll set that one for 5:30. That'll give 15 minutes for each one,
and then 5:45,
and then 5:45.
Oh.
What's the name of the precinct that you want to move them?
Longsford.
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 Well, it doesn't exist now, so you're
It
gonna
doesn't
basically
exist
create it.
because we didn't have any place for them to vote, so they had to come back to the Ridge. So they'll have to set a public hearing
To
So
to move them back to
So it's to
Longsford.
reopen the Longsford voting precinct.
All right, so we need a motion then to schedule public hearings for 5:30 for the Tarpon, potential relocation of the Tarpon precinct.
That has to be separate.
Yeah.
Well, I thought he said we were gonna combine.
I do them separate.
Okay,
I
so,
made
all
a
right.
motion for
All right,
that.
we have,
Because Tarpon's a relocation, Longsford will be a reopening. Because there is not currently a Longsford
Precinct, no, they come to the Ridge to
All right.
vote. And they
Mr. Peter-
basically quit voting.
Mr. Peters has made a motion to advertise and schedule a public hearing for May 19th at 5:30 PM on the possible relocation of the Tarpon voting precinct. Do I hear a second?
I second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Also. And then do I hear any motions regarding the Longsford precinct?
I make a motion that we go ahead and advertise it at the same time, because that
Well,
building will be ready by November.
I think Mr. Moore suggested doing that one at 5:45
That will be a separate.
to stagger them out, because we have to have a separate public hearing.
Because they're two different issues.
Right.
Right.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, so, all right. The motion was to schedule public hearing 5:45 in regard to reopening the Longsford precinct, and I have a second by Ms. Kaiser. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye also. All right,
Save
we
us some
chugged,
money.
we have chugged along to item 16. Do I hear any sort of, motions?
We need a motion to go into closed session to discuss litigation, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, floor is open for motion.
I make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to Code Section 2.2-3, 711A, 1 and 8, I personnel, and 1 all departments. B, Section 2.2-3, 711A8, ongoing active litigation and on the school project, which is 1.
Thank you, Ms. Wills. Here a second.
I second it.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. We'll be in closed session. Do I have a certification for matters discussed in closed session?
I'll certify closed session, we only discuss things pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A, 1 and 8, Section 2.2-3711A1, personnel, all departments, Section 2.2-3711A, ongoing active litigation, school project.
Here a second.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Ms. Wills. Do a roll call vote. Ms. Kaiser, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Ms. Sluss,
Aye.
Ms. Willis,
Aye.
and I also. Go to item 18, any motions or action coming out of closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we pass the resolution that back in 11A that we held off to closed session. And also the other resolution that was presented to us on the addition. I would like to make a motion that we pass both of those resolutions concerning the elementary school.
Mr. Chairman, may I address very briefly for the public that might be listening? 11A is what I discussed earlier. It is where this board is appropriating $250,000 to the school board to do the planning and budget. So you're authorizing the appropriation and the spending of that money and sending it to the school board. The second motion, resolution, deals with the other things that we discussed in terms of setting the record straight in exactly what this board has done in order to move this project ahead. And the question I answer again, what is left to be done? There is no, at this point in time, this board has made major contributions to moving this project ahead. And so they have, and one thing I want to make very clear to the public, there were some statements made at the board meeting the other night among school board saying that we want to sign checks. This board doesn't want to sign any checks. This board wants to give the money, $24.5 million roughly, to the school board, and they can take that money and build a school. They will not, our signature won't be required on any checks. They will be signing the checks and making a decision about the location, the spending of the money, and the construction of that school. That's one issue that we try to correct in that second resolution. And so the other issue, they said, well, why can't board members talk with board members? The council has never said that any board member cannot discuss this issue with any other school board member. Now, things that go on in executive session can't be discussed, obviously, between either party. But there's no prohibition. We want to make that clear. This attorney here sitting tonight has never instructed any of these members, nor has our other legal counsel in Roanoke ever instructed you that not to discuss these issues with any school board members. I want to make that perfectly clear, and we'll make that perfectly clear in the resolution tonight that you'll be adopting. The other thing we want to make perfectly clear is that there is, at this point, no excuse for the school board not to move forward with the construction of that new elementary school. This board does not want to hold up. We don't want to sign any checks. We're not requiring to sign any checks. We want the school board to pick their side and build the school. And this board is completely, unequivocally supporting the building of the elementary school. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
I will second that motion that Ms. Willis just made.
And I just want to say, before we take a vote, that I hope that duly elected members of Dickinson County, particularly the school board, will do their diligence and read for themselves these resolutions that will be mailed to each one individually, mailed to their attorneys. But I hope that they will not take the word of anybody else, whoever it may be, but I hope that they will take the time and do their diligence, what they were elected to do. And it may take a few minutes to read this and digest it. And I hope that they may ask me questions, or you, Ms. Sluss, Ms. Willis, Mr. Peters, Ms. Kaiser, questions. You can call me and ask me questions. Do the diligence, and don't take somebody else's word for it, and let's settle this thing and move Dickinson County forward. All those in favor of the motion and second to the resolutions as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Is there anything else?
There's one more motion I'd like to make, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Due to the COVID-19, we have had our solid waste employees working every day under dangerous conditions. The rest of the employees have basically been working from home, coming in maybe once or twice a week. And I think we need to, and I'll make this in a form of a motion, that we give all of our solid waste employees, full-time employees, $200 per paycheck, per payday, and all of our part-time employees, $100 per payday, and that we retroactive this until the time that we had to close our office and start working from home and coming in just 1 or 2 a day. And I put that in form of a motion.
That's great, Ms. Wills,
And
thank you.
through the duration of the alternate.
However much longer, right, let's go.
Yes.
I second.
And I appreciate you all doing that.
And I appreciate our county administrator for bringing this idea. This is a great idea, and I'm thankful that we're able to reward those guys. They work in pouring rain, pouring snow, mud, sleet, whatever, COVID pandemic, so I'm proud that we're able to do this. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Move to 19, the scheduling of a budgetary public hearing, and that's proposed for June 15th at 5 p.m.
I make a motion that we have the public hearing at 5 p.m.
Yes.
Here a second.
I'll
It's-
second it.
This is June the 15th, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
we asked where it's gonna be held at.
Right here.
Here.
How many people will you let in here?
Well, we don't know what's going to happen.
Depends on what the restrictions
Yeah.
are at the time. Hopefully by then we may be open back up.
See, our restrictions are to June the
But
10th
it'll
right
be
now.
right here for sure.
And I may not have a conflict now.
So do we have a motion?
I
I'm
have
sorry.
I did make a
100%.
motion that we,
Here a second. Okay, I'm sorry. Here, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And then we have, on the agenda, I guess it was a request that we change our May regular meeting from the 4th Tuesday to, I guess, was that be the
Third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday, May 19th. Does anybody, I checked mine, I'm good. Everybody else okay with that?
I'm looking at
I'm good.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I got it
So
down.
do we hear a motion?
I made that motion that we move our meeting to Tuesday the 19th.
Here a second.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also.
Mr. Moore, do we have the public hearings on the election also?
We already-
You've already scheduled those.
Yeah, we've already-
Oh, we
Those will
did.
be the
All
same
right,
day,
all
the
right. We did
19th.
those,
One's at
okay.
5:30, the other one's at
So we'll
5:45.
have to be here at 5:30.
The only other thing I need, we talked about, we needed to add a budget workshop. We have one scheduled for, May 11th. We need one for next week.
I was gonna ask that
We,
through the discussion, you guys looked like the 5th or 7th. I'd like it to be the 7th.
if May 7th is okay with everybody,
Okay,
that
then
would be a board
Thursday.
workshop Thursday,
That
May
works for me.
7th at 9 a.m.
Yeah, I knew it
We're
worked.
gonna do it all day on that?
Just try to go to about 1 o'clock, hopefully. Around lunchtime,
Okay.
What time we coming in?
9,
9, okay.
if everyone's okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Where we had to cancel 2 of our other workshops, and we really have, some budget discussion to do.
So we
And
have go ahead, I'm sorry.
just go ahead, I mean, that puts us having a meeting a week for the next 3 weeks, but we'll do them in here. I think this setup
Yeah, it's
it
better
works
up
well
here.
for
Yeah.
this type of, meeting, and I think we should be able to pull off and get our budget in place so that everything's, legally okay. It'd be
Is budgets aired?
Hmm.
Is our budget workshops aired? I mean, video,
No,
okay.
workshops are not, public meetings are live
We
streamed.
can't take action.
Workshops are not.
Anyway.
So anyway, I don't, well, it probably would be good if you voted to approve that, Thursday, May 7th at 9.
Not being, partaking in these, do these workshops include boards coming to, how is that handled?
Part of them will.
Any of them, huh?
Talk about the departments coming in.
Departments.
Different departments come in, or
We're
we just
foregoing
talking?
that process
don't
unless
have.
we're asked. The only entity that still has asked is the school board, and I propose that we meet with them on the 11th.
Okay.
And I think the rescue squad also wants, some of those want to meet. Is that right?
Well, we need to talk among ourselves before we decide we want to do that, and I'll
Okay.
show you why.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I want.
all right, thank you.
So did we, I'm sorry again.
So do we need a motion to have a budget workshop on May the 7th?
Since it is altering the schedule we had set earlier in the spring, yes, I'd like you to set a workshop, board workshop for Thursday, May 7th at 9 a.m.
And then we still need approval of the May 19th, right?
Yes. Well, did y'all vote that?
I don't think we did.
No, you did not.
No.
Okay. Sorry.
It's been a long
So I'll make a
evening.
motion, we have our next Board of Supervisors meeting along with the public hearings at 5:30, May 19th.
Okay, we'll do that one, then we'll do the second.
Yeah.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Also, then do we hear a motion on the May 7th, budgetary hearing?
I so make that motion.
Have a motion, do we hear a second?
Second, and that's at 9 o'clock.
All those in favor of having a budget workshop May 7th, beginning at 9 a.m. to go to approximately 1 p.m., please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Also. Okay, item 21, supervisors' comments. Instead of putting anybody on the spot, I'll just, does anybody have?
I just got a quick thing I
Go
want to
ahead.
say. We had the discussion on the internet earlier. Rhonda, Peggy, you too, Josh, if there's people that are calling you, if you want us to, because we're on the executive board, to hammer that, let us know the details.
We want you to.
Yeah,
definitely.
well, no, I know you want me to hammer it, but I mean, let me know who it is. But I can tell you, I'm very concerned with what, I haven't seen no action yet.
Yeah, I want you to handle
And the
it.
first ones that are getting it are probably Tazewell and Russell, and that bothers me too.
Yeah.
If you've seen the negotiations, you'd be even more alarmed that happened.
Russell gets everything.
I know we worry about our elementary children and our high
Yeah.
school children, but we have a lot of college students. Campuses are shut down. Everything's online, and I've heard from two or
Well, the
three
governor
colleges.
says they're going to virtual Virginia.
Another
No.
thing that I should add to that, we did a hotspot in the town of Hayside. That's free access to internet, that's done. And I said Ridgeview was the other one, and then Breaks Park. If there are other ones, because I'd also talk to you, Peggy, about Trammell, because that would be a good area, and they're gonna look at that as a possible site, but I'm not sure that we own a public building out there. Because the community center out there was,
That little house for you.
private, I
everybody
was told.
for.
Well, that's
I
definitely
thought
something.
if you do
Ben's
hotspots,
County
why
Community
can't
Center,
you
you
get
may
all
can
you
get
can?
some access. I can talk to Mary about
Yeah.
that.
Ms.
Yeah.
Wills, do you have any comments?
No, I just think we've made a lot of progress in the last couple months on the school system, and I'm so happy. I just want it to be built.
Thank you, Ms. Wills. Ms. Love?
I agree. I thank Mr. Phillips for all his work
Yes.
and his time, and I think that we all five have come a long way, and we're
Not sure you always get into.
no, I wasn't. But I think
Ms. Lawson did either.
I didn't. I think each one of you, and I think we got a lot accomplished tonight.
Ms. Kaiser?
I just appreciate the work that's been done and keeping us, our heads afloat and determination to keep going forward. And I didn't have enough money in my gravel fund to order me another load of gravel, and I thank Josh for sharing the load with me to where I could get at least a few more tons to try to help a few more people out.
Now, let me say this, you all have some money left in your capital outlay fund.
Yes, you do. I was going to give mine to them.
That you can use
Can you use it for gravel?
I think so, can't you?
You can talk to county administrator and see if switching budget, maybe a little budget magic that he has to do.
You can do things for your community with your capital outlay.
Well, I'm happy to help anybody. Peggy, go ahead, Ron.
Well, I kinda
Well,
need to see that criteria
$1,600
too.
one. I was going to give 800 to the
Because
robotics.
we may,
800
because
to
some of
van.
that goes for that kind of stuff, fixing culverts.
But ain't nobody calling asking me for gravel.
I fought really hard at
I don't get-
our Coal Road meeting the other day to get an additional $1,500 for everybody to get more gravel, because and I know it's somewhat controversial, but I think we have pretty good guidelines. Mr.
Can't
Phillips
get
gave us
drain pipe.
very good guidelines on that.
You
But,
buy it with your capital outlay if it's.
if we can just help as many people as we can, that's all I
Just
want
one
to
house.
So how
No,
much
you
total?
can't for one
do.
house.
2,500.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that all you got, not
Well, can
1,500
be
in
not,
district?
well, they,
1,500
can't you go
additional.
about getting
Oh.
them put in and you
Per
drive?
district.
Every time it rains,
Yeah.
gravel comes right out in the road.
That's good.
VDOT won't put in any gravel or any drain pipes.
They
now
should
like
pay
they used
that.
to.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips, and I hope we can move, Dickinson County forward, and I thank everybody for their patience, and I think we had a good meeting tonight. So
Make
do I
a
hear a
motion,
motion
we
to
adjourn.
adjourn, hear a motion to hear second?
I motion we adjourn.
Had a motion, you second it?
I second.
All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye also, meeting's adjourned.